Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on Facebook.com/SuperFunPodcast, Twitter.com/SuperFunPodcast, Patreon.com/SuperFunPodcast, Instagram @SuperFunPodcastGo, iTunes @SuperFunPodcastGo. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! I am your host Harry tonight, and our sponsor this evening, Cup of Noodle!
Ooh. With shrimp. You can't forget our other one. Coleman.
Oh yes, Coleman! And to my left we have Steve.
I know you just did not do that.
Bad puns.
And across from me is Ralph.
Oh, love the lighting.
And to my right this evening is Mr. Clark.
You better start acting like a king.
So if you haven't guessed it by now, tonight we are reviewing
Final Fantasy versus 13.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Final Fantasy 15.
That's the one.
Yes, nailed it. So what are your initial thoughts, guys?
I was excited to play another Final Fantasy. I haven't played an actual mainline one 10. I think it was the last one I played.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, just a little bit frame of reference. Final Fantasy X came out 16 years ago.
Thanks, man.
Bullshit.
No, I think he's right on that, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
Jesus.
2001?
I forget the
Yeah,
exact.
I think we were in like 9th and 10th grade.
Yeah, that would have been around 2001.
Oh,
Holy
fuck,
shit.
we're old.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Harry.
Back to dating ourselves. Okay, my personal opinion of this going into it, this was going to be a make or break Final Fantasy for me. Ever since, Final Fantasy X, I feel like is the last one that uses like an old traditional combat system, like the traditional JRPG.
Active time battle
yes,
system.
active time battle system. Ever since then, they've been kind of like tweaking things and experimenting, and I just have not gotten that Final Fantasy feeling that I've gotten from the classic titles. So this was going to be the one where I'm going to continue with the series, or I'm just going to cut my losses here and try to check out a new series.
Okay, so I don't know how to say this other than just blurt it out. This is only the second Final Fantasy game I've beaten. And I think, Steve, did you just say that, or this is the only one since 10?
This is the first one I've played since 10, not counting 11.
Okay. I've only beaten 6 to see the credits roll. I've played some of the other games for a couple hours here or there. I've gotten to Disc 3 on Final Fantasy 7, but I've never completely beaten it. It's funny to me the way that in 2006, when this game was announced, I really wasn't a Final Fantasy fan. I hadn't played any games up until that point. I didn't play 6 until about 2010. When I had finished college, I played it on the GBA and completely fell in love with it. So in that time, or before that time, this game has been in development. Before I was even a fan, I have become a fan. I've played several of the games. I've looked at a lot of the development and the history of it and learned to appreciate and love the series. I knew of Versus 13 here or there, and I skipped 13, 13-2, and Lightning Returns completely because I had heard bad things about them. I didn't even give them a shot. Even when I saw 13 in the bargain bin for like $5, I still didn't buy it. So coming into this game, I started to get excited for it when I started to see trailers in 2015, I think. There was the one trailer where it was like a giant turtle that like was a mountain and came out of nowhere and just started moving, and the cars like cutting around. And I thought, holy shit, this game is incredible. I have to play this one. So I was very hyped for it then, up until that point, or from that point on. I don't want to say anything about how I feel about 15 just yet. We'll get into it, but that's background Final Fantasy for me.
So yeah, I've been a really long time Final Fantasy fan. You've probably heard me and Harry talking about how we love Final Fantasy so much that we voice acted 6 together while we played through it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It was
Kefka.
It was
It's
it was
very
awesome. I was
memorable.
Kefka.
You were Kefka?
I was Kefka.
That is adorable.
We'll come back to Kefka later.
Aw.
Love
I just
Kefka.
want to scratch your chins.
Yeah, and I've actually fallen off on a lot of Final Fantasies. I played like 2 hours of Final Fantasy 14, the online one. I sunk a considerable amount of time into Final Fantasy 11. I skipped 12. I skipped 13. The last one that I beat was 10. I played like a few hours of 10 too. Nothing's really gripped me. When I saw this one though, I was like, this might be different enough from what they've been doing that I could get back into it. So I was really excited to play 13 Versus, but this game was also had me hyped once they rebranded it to 15 and started releasing trailers and stuff. That first trailer though is what hooked me back into the series as a whole.
Was that the one with from 2006 that was knocked by himself, like being completely sort of overpowered and a much darker version, or do you mean a more recent trailer?
The trailers that got me back into it were like 15 branded trailers.
Got it.
Like that giant turtle one that you were talking about. I remember that one distinctly. So I was excited to play this when it came out.
So why don't we just start dissecting this game, and we'll jump into game development.
Game development.
So I think it's important to note it was originally branded as Final Fantasy Versus 13. And it was like that for many, many years. There was announcements of it, but then you heard barely anything for years and years. And I don't think you really started to see the momentum of the game developing until the last couple years of its development.
Well,
Absolutely.
There was a long time when it was even just in development. I mean, you're talking about starting in 2006. Well, I want to say almost halfway through development, they switched directors for it. Back in, I was reading in 2012, there was the original one, Tetsuya Nomura, was pretty much from 06 to 12, like creating everything, pretty much working with the team, of course. And then in 2012, Hajime Tabata took over, and then that's where they really started changing things around and making it more of Final Fantasy 15 of how we know it.
Real quick. That first director, what was his name?
Nomura.
He's Kingdom Hearts, and he is directing the remake.
Yeah, they've both been working in the company for quite some time.
Yeah.
Because originally Final Fantasy 13 Versus 13 was going to be the adult, grown-up, big console version of Dissidia. Dissidia was a lot of fun if you had a PSP or a Vita back in the day. I don't know if any of you guys have played that.
Yeah, I actually own the game.
I was going to ask you to just give me a quick breakdown of Dissidia because I've heard of it, but I haven't never seen a screenshot.
It's like an on-rails fighting game. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I
Okay.
mean, you got all your like main characters from every series, and it's kind of like if you want to fight Terra from Final Fantasy VI versus Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, boom, that's the game to play.
I thought that was Air Gaze.
No.
No.
That's limited to Final Fantasy VII exclusively.
Oh, okay.
And it's only 3 or 4 characters,
Yeah.
if I remember
But
correctly.
this has like the main protagonist, the main antagonist from every single game in the series.
That's
Cool.
pretty awesome.
And I think I have the one up to Final Fantasy 12 at the time. Is the copy I have?
It's interesting that you say that it's Versus 13 was supposed to be like a Dissidia, and the fighting game aspect and a Versus kind of makes sense. And I had heard of Versus 13, and like I said, I wasn't a big fan in 2006. And all this time through its development, I'd heard rumblings of Versus 13, and I thought it's kind of funny that they're making Final Fantasy 13, and then they're making a Versus 13, and I don't understand the correlation exactly. I sort of developed my own theory on it. You guys can shoot this down, and you can tell me I'm wrong, or you heard it somewhere else. I haven't heard this anywhere else, but I got to the point in 15, and this is a little bit of story, so just throwing it out there. When you get on the train in 15, I can't remember what chapter it is, but at one point you get on a train and you're sort of locked on rails to a certain destination, and you get off a couple places here or there, but you have to get back on the train. It's like the last third of the game, a lot of it you spend on the train.
I think it's chapter 10 chapter 10 and 11.
Okay. I got to that point, and I sort of stopped and said, now wait a minute. What I remember of 13 is that you're on like a hallway for the first 20 hours, and then the game opens up. That's what I had heard about 13 through various reviewers and other people talking about it. They say after the first 20 hours, it gets good. And I can't remember who it was who said it online, you can put your hand over an oven for the first 20 hours and the nerves will go away, but the damage is still done. They made this a metaphor that it doesn't matter that after 20 hours the game gets good. The first 20 hours, the damage is done.
I would have been out by then. I couldn't have done that.
Oh, wouldn't have been able to last 20 hours in just to have a game start piquing some more interest instead of grinding out.
The longest I've waited on a game is about I've given a game about 6 hours before it really got its hooks in me, and that's when it kind of took off.
No game takes 20 hours to really open up.
It shouldn't, because that's an entire game right there.
Exactly. Harry, can you concur that it takes 20 hours to get to a point in,
you
in
played
13 where the game opens up and there's like a map and an overworld kind of a thing?
Okay, besides that fact, yes, I will agree. It does take, it's very linear for a good 50% of the game, I want to say, before, because once you get to that open world, you're kind of almost near the end of the game. I'm not saying like the end of the game, but you could probably crank through the last bit in under 10 hours at that point.
Okay.
Now, I do want to say, like, because I feel like if we're going to talk about Final Fantasy 15 tonight, we're probably going to talk about Final Fantasy as a whole.
Sure.
In and out.
A little bit, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I just want to say, I have played most of the games in the series. I think that's important to note.
Right.
So whenever I do compare, it's because I've ingested quite a bit of knowledge playing the Final Fantasy games over the past few decades.
Right. And we got to the point in 15 where there's a crystal. I mean, it was fairly early on, but you actually see the crystal. You probably weren't surprised at the design of that or anything, because we're taking some of the same ideas, throwing them in a blender and seeing, what comes out.
Yeah.
To an extent, not completely. But I just want to go back to my point for Versus 13 and 13. I got to this point in 15 where I'm on the train and I'm like, man, the game feels really linear, but I'm like 20 hours in.
Yeah.
So I had this one where I was like, well, wait a minute. 13, you're a girl with blonde hair, and 15, you're a guy with dark hair. And I'm like, is Versus 13 supposed to be the inverse, the opposite of what 13 was at a very like early on developmental stage? And at a glance, it kind of was, I guess.
It'd be great if the original director was like, somebody got it finally.
I mean, like I said, I don't have a lot of evidence or anything, but like I started to watch. After I beat 15, I went back and I looked at the trailers for Versus 13, and there were a lot of people on YouTube who have done compilations of all the trailers for the entire length of the series. And the first Versus 13 trailer I watched, and I was like, oh my God, where's that game? That game that they showed us in 2006, I don't think it happens. Like, it's clear that there were some ideas, and then that Nomura had put in, and then the new director came in, and they sort of, they went and did their own thing. And I almost want to say, don't watch those trailers. If you guys haven't gone back, don't watch the Versus 13 like 2006 like reveal trailer, because you'll see so much now that we've put 50 hours into 15. You'll see so much that was hinted at that isn't there. Specifically, Noct being like neutered for 15 compared to what he was in the trailer. And it's just a trailer. And if you go back and watch the Omen trailer for 15, like, as I watched it, that was one of the last trailers that came out before the game came out, and I was like, holy shit, this was amazing. The Omen stuff with like Noct being like this incredible badass on his own, doing all this stuff, like, at least the way I played it, I struggled to really feel that empowered as Noct solo. I could be wrong.
I think Square Enix has an issue of committing to something at this point. They like theorizing all these ideas, but it's not until they hit a very serious deadline that they really crack down on creating these games.
Like 15...
Well, the thing is, what they've been doing is when they're going to take a risk, they do it with one of their other properties, like Deus Ex and Tomb Raider games and stuff like that. They are taking the risks and like trying new things, whereas with Final Fantasy, they're taking very, very calculated risks because they know that Square Enix probably goes bankrupt if they don't pump out Final Fantasy games.
Pump it.
Well, that's the story of Final Fantasy right there, if I've never heard it. I mean, how many times has the company buckled down to create a Final Fantasy game to stay in business? The first game, 7,
Yep.
It's always the same story.
I think that's originally why they called
Final Fantasy.
Because this was like their last-ditch effort to bring in a profit for
It was
the company.
their last game to make a profit, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Let me get
I
back
like
there.
it. It's very animated.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I always interrupt people, because if I don't say it right then, fuck it, it's gone.
I don't. You just see a spirit come out of his eye. Like, what the fuck?
Okay, so
Just says fuck you.
Clark, you are 100% right when it comes to what you said about Square
I know.
Enix.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know. I know. I know you know.
Yeah.
We all know you know. I still remember reading an article or seeing a video about Tomb Raider where they had some ludicrous expectation of what Tomb Raider had to do to make a profit, and it was like 15 million copies. And they ultimately said that it had shipped 7 and was a failure. And it's like, what are you talking about? How can you consider that game a failure considering you sold 7 million copies? Like, they take all the risk on those other properties and they keep Final Fantasy very close to the chest.
So why don't we dive into story, gentlemen?
Story.
So when I was playing through this game, I could definitely see, and I think part of the wait time of why it took them so long in development, they were really anxious over creating this game. And I think what they did is recalled upon some of their highlights of previous Final Fantasies.
Just going to throw it out there, people. If you have not beaten it, spoilers.
Yes. There's going to be, in this story, there's going to be tons of spoilers. It's a newish game. We kind of want to throw a spoiler tag out there.
But it has
Spoilers.
been 6 months.
And
so
spoilers for
spoilers.
the franchise.
Yeah, this is going to
of
be, this is going to
Final
cover,
Fantasy.
this is going to be like our Final Fantasy podcast. So here we go.
fair warning. Sorry, Harry. Continue.
All right, so like I was saying,
Spoilers.
I think that they definitely looked upon their past achievements and what were some of the highlights that people take away from the Final Fantasy series. Some of the notes I have, comparing Final Fantasy VII's death of Aeris versus Final Fantasy XV's death of Lunafreya. Final Fantasy VI World of Ruin versus Final Fantasy XV's World of Ruin. And then I think the last one, and this one's a little grayer of an area, but I think Final Fantasy X focused on summons in that game as a very big attribute to their storyline. And I think Final Fantasy XV decided, hey, we really need to highlight summons in this game. Bring them to the focus of the picture. I think they nailed it on only one out of those 3, personally.
Which one do you think?
The summons. I think the summons felt epic. When you play some of the earlier Final Fantasies, you can easily forget about the summons. They're not like an overpowering force or part of your arsenal when you're playing the game. You can easily start maxing out your attack stats to where you're just swinging for the same amount, if not more damage than producing a summon on the screen. But in this game, they really made them feel devastating. Whenever you brought them into the picture, they were fucking, holy shit, raining hell down on the screen.
They destroy all the enemies around you, too.
Yeah.
If you were
Yeah.
in the open world. It was awesome.
It was insane. Now getting on the other parts. Now I think, cool. They wanted. I definitely feel they went for this nostalgia feel in this game, especially when you get into how they brought some of the older music back into the game.
Oh, you definitely feel that.
But
We'll get into the music when we get into the music.
as far as the death of Lunafreya goes in this game, I don't think there was enough substance there. She was a character, yes, but did you really know her as a character that you would feel bad for her when she actually does die?
So I actually disagree. I think the fact that she was so far removed from a lot of the story. Sorry, because I did text you about this.
Yeah, no, I told you I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. I was actually really, really sad when Lunafreya gets killed. Mostly because I felt really bad for Noctis. Because he's
Just lost his dad.
Yeah,
Just lost
and-
his city.
and that whole time, this whole driving factor for him is like, I need to see Lunafreya. Like, I've known her since I was young. And
He seems to genuinely care about her.
yeah,
That did not seem tacked on to me. I'll go with you.
then to see Arden kill her, and he was just like powerless to stop it. I don't know if it was just like the shit that I was like going through at the time or anything, but like, man, it hit home for me. Like I was really upset that Lunafreya died.
I'm just saying, for me, like, she wasn't a part of the main cast of the game.
That would have been more like Eris then.
Yes.
Yes,
But I mean,
it
like,
would have been.
they didn't really give you the time to really learn about this character. Yes, they wrote notes back and forth, and like they communicated a little bit, and yes, they were childhood friends, but they didn't really indulge in that part of the storyline.
They didn't have a scene together.
They didn't have
Exactly.
as much of a relationship for you to be that invested for when that scene actually happened. For you, anyway.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, in comparison, I
Yeah.
think it fell short compared to Final Fantasy VII's death. Didn't have as big of an impact on me.
You're not going to top Eris's death, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's still like one of the number ones. But for this, I think just the whole culmination of like, it happens during like a really epic, probably my favorite part of the game is actually surrounding this whole thing, and just
Leviathan?
it's this whole anticipation. I was so excited to see Luna Freya interact with Noctis, and they get to for like 30 seconds, and then she's dead.
With her speech where they like exchange glances and then that's it.
Yeah, like there's no interaction. It made me feel very empty. It was a shallow moment, but it was like a shallow moment in like how it made me feel like it was a shallow moment as opposed to just being devoid of content. Like I was like fully invested in that moment.
And then at the very end, she basically saves him with the very last of her life to continue on, because she did her duty. She did her mission. That's what she was there for. And something that I think I'm going to split down the middle between both of you, I wish they got a little more into that before that happened, because they touched on it a lot after she died and they started to open up more of the story, which I understand where they came from with it. But it was a really powerful moment and a powerful scene that they did really well putting together. I just think then I'll pick up with Harry saying that I wish there was a little more to build it up to it, because it still got me invested. I was very invested when, it goes down at the very last moment. I sat back, I'm like, oh shit, you were right there. You were right there.
Yeah,
that's fucking terrible.
That's the feeling. That feeling right there was just like you were right there, like you had it. Like
but I was kind of left wanting a little more, because I can't give you an example off the top of my head, but there have been more games where it gets you so emotionally invested and then it just hits you like a fucking brick wall. I think I hit a bit of a curb and jumped and kind of like skipped my foot on it. It's like, oh shit. It wasn't so much I ran full
Scraped
force.
his knees.
Yeah, exactly. I scraped my knee when I should have broke my nose.
All right.
Take that analogy, motherfucker.
Sure. Well,
Did you have something you want to add to that?
I did want to say that, I was surprised when Luna Freya was killed, when Arden killed her. Like, because unless I'm mistaken, the blocking is sort of like, he's like, oh, I'm going to leave. Oh, no, wait, there's something else I want to do. And then sticks her in the stomach with the knife. And when that happened, I was sort of like I sort of like dropped and was kind of like, oh, they're trying to half-ass do an Eris thing, which isn't really fair for me to say or make that comparison. I don't know. It's not apples to apples, but it's the middle of the game. She's the love interest, and she gets killed by the villain. I was just kind of like,
What? I feel like they could have done more
Right.
with that, though. Like, because she just started coming into the picture at that part of the game. Like, yeah, she was mentioned a few times. There was a couple quick cutscenes, but like, she could have traveled with the party for maybe a couple chapters, and really, they could have made it a very tragic scene
sure.
instead of what it currently is.
Maybe they knew that they were sort of pigeonholed to this. Like, if they had brought her in more and there had been more investment and more interaction and more of development, that it really would have been like Eris. Whereas now it's sort of a distant homage to Eris, but not even that distant, I guess. And this sort of ties into another thing that I know we're going to get into, which is Kingsglaive. And I had this idea just the other day that it was like, upon defeating Arden, upon beating this game, I felt, why wasn't Kingsglaive the first third of the game? Why didn't most of what happened in that movie happen in the game? It didn't necessarily even have to be Noctis, though I don't know how you'd get around that. But there's a lot of Luna Freya in that movie. There's a lot of there's a lot of story. There's a lot of background. It makes sense. Why not include that in the game? It couldn't have been that hard. I mean,
They could have included that movie with the game.
They did in
Yeah,
certain
but that was like a
editions.
special edition, though. Like,
It was like $10 more.
I'm just saying, though, like the amount of content that was in that movie that you never even discover in the game, that's absurd.
And you don't even get to see Insomnia, really. You don't ever get to explore Insomnia before it falls, and then it's just a series of hallways, and you're in like a refinery, or you're in Chapter 13, that one area. You don't get to explore Insomnia. You don't even really get to see the skyline. Like, I feel like it's barely in the game. It's all in the movie.
No, I agree. I think that's a big flaw, because it's, for those who haven't watched the movie, you're going to be confused about certain aspects of the game.
And if I hadn't watched the movie, I'd have even less to build on from Lunafreya.
Yeah.
Because she's in the movie throughout.
True. Now, before we get too far away, I did
Go ahead.
want to discuss the Final Fantasy VI World of Ruin versus Final Fantasy XV's World of Ruin.
Yes, let's please.
Okay, so what made Final Fantasy VI World of Ruin so good is you see the despair. I believe you pick up as Celis
Yeah.
on a remote island with a dying old man, and then you pick up from there, say, hey, this isn't how it's going to be. Let me rebuild the team. And you're traveling this destroyed world. And what's cool about that is the villain won at that point. He was able to destroy the world, and you're coming back from the brink of like your existence to try to conquer this evil. And it's usually like when you're doing these adventure stories, it's, hey, we're off to save the world. Oh, he almost got it, but then we stop him. Like, this is another opportunity where the villain wins, and it kind of shows the weakness of your heroes. But I still think, like, again, like I'm glad that they grabbed from their past, like, boom, that was a working idea, but I think it fell short again. It was so short-lived, and you didn't really get to explore it in Final Fantasy 15.
You took the words out of my mouth. I mean,
Give them back, Harry. That's rude.
You give me those back.
Jesus.
You start the game in a flash forward where
Yes.
you're fighting
Yes,
Ifrit.
you do. I almost forgot about that, too, because
I-
it's so early in the game.
I
Yeah.
didn't forget, and I don't know if it's because my Ocarina sense is like
Oh,
always
God.
there when it comes to video games.
Oh,
I was like,
Jesus
oh,
Christ.
we're in the future. Oh, there's some growth here. There's change in the character. Okay, great, got it.
He whacks off to Nintendo as soon as he gets home.
Yeah, I think he does.
Fucking fanboy.
So
He somehow masturbates with a fucking 64 controller.
turn it around and work all the. I didn't say that. All right.
Wow, you did.
So-
and that's staying in.
That's why they make the joystick. You can control it with your left
The
hand.
trident.
Oh, I got the Tremor Pack!
Rumble pack.
He just sits there and runs
didn't
Mario off
ask for
of a.
No, Mario 64 doesn't have rumble support.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
He's tested. He's totally tested this.
But Star Fox, yeah. Okay.
All right, boys.
What I wanted to say about that change, the World of Ruin, all that, of course we'll get to that in terms of the story if we do beginning, middle, and end. But the World of Ruin specifically, I felt fell really flat, and I was very disappointed. Now, it might have been because I had played 8 chapters in one day, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, holy shit. It's finally happened. Noct is older. We find out it's 10 years. He's got the beard.
If you call that a
Yeah,
beard.
kind of. Yeah.
He's got the beard. I'm calling it a beard.
He has some scraggle.
Some pubes on his face.
I'm a real boy. And real quick, we'll get into it, but I noticed a couple changes with Noct, how his father, they show his father young, and he's fine, and they show him older, and he's like limping, or he has a leg brace. When Noct is 10 years older, and they're wearing the king's garb, or the special outfits that they wear, if you run as Noct, you don't run as fast. And he has a leg brace on his left leg. So I had always, or not always, I at that point assumed that by wearing the ring, it's almost like a Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all kind of thing, where it's so heavy that the ring has a weight to it that is physically draining.
Or if you're stuck in a crystal for 10 years, you're going to have some joint problems. Just saying.
Very true. Very, very true. I don't know if you guys picked up on that or not.
Yeah, no, it totally did. It just
Okay.
seems like the ring sucks the life force out
Right.
of whoever's wearing it, because he's like a little grayer too. Like
Yeah.
when he
Little
comes
bit.
out, he's starting to get like gray, and
Yeah.
he looks a lot more like his dad too.
Yeah. I actually like the older Noct character model. I think that the way they aged him was well done. The other characters, it didn't seem like they were that different to me. But
No.
I mean, Prompto had some wrinkles at the end.
Can I say, though, just real quick, and I'll let you get back to your thing.
Yep.
The ring thing, I didn't know that was like a draining force unless I watched the movie. That was where they really explained.
I'd forgotten already.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, that was a big part of the movie where they're like, oh, you have to give up your life if you want to use the power kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't really explain that in the game. Like, it was just, I think it was just assumed. It's just a detriment to not watching the movie. I think it hinders
Right.
the gameplay.
Okay, back to the World of Ruin. You start off and you're back in Golden Key, which that guy is so fucking annoying.
I'm sorry. Did you just hit puberty?
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
You said Golden Key?
Or Golden Keep? What is it? I went in and out of that hotel so many times that, and every time the like busboy is like, "Welcome to Golden Key," or Golden Keep. Like, I heard it over and over and over again. Fun fact: it's 10,000 gil to stay a night at that hotel, and I always thought, oh, when I get to the end of the game and I have 300 million gil, I'll just spend one night at the hotel and see what happens. And of course, I couldn't do it. But that's a separate issue. You're at the Golden Key or whatever, and it's like infested with Golden Key. You guys are gonna boot the game up again. You're gonna walk in there and be like, God damn it, Ralph. Anyway, there's monsters everywhere. You know, it's obvious that something has happened. The world has changed. The world of ruin starts to become apparent that this is a thing. There are demons everywhere. Okay, cool. So the little boy, who I can't remember his name, his grandfather was killed. He picks you up in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Before that happens, I thought to myself,
Tall Cut. Is that
Thank
his
you.
name?
Tall Cut,
Thank
thank
Tall
you.
Cut.
The one who collects cactuars.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
he's got them all in the truck.
Yeah.
Before he just, appears and picks you up, I thought, okay, I like where this is going. I'm going to have to walk the whole way back to Hammerhead, aren't I?
Thought the same
and fight
thing.
the whole way. I really thought that you could. And then when he picks you up, I'm like,
Son of a bitch.
It's not that I really wanted that fight, but it made sense that you would have to, like, fight your way back to Hammerhead. It felt right at that point. And when you get to Hammerhead, and everybody's older, and it's like, oh, this is an outpost now for hunters or whatever. Okay, all right, got it. This is sort of like the pre-end game area. You can't leave. You can't
No.
go grind. Cindy? They talk about Cindy. You don't see her. There's no NPC. There's no older Cindy. There's no older Iris. Iris isn't there. And by the way, after Lunafreya died, I thought, okay, now Iris is basically going to step in. And because at that point, I still thought that we were going to fast forward to the future or whatever, you'd find that Iris and Noct eventually, knocked. But
Knocked butt? Ew.
They knocked butt.
they knocked.
The world
but,
of Final Fantasy is
I was-
weird.
The
Hey, you want to knocked butts?
yes. The whole thing became one long disappointment.
Yeah, it did.
Because
Well, okay.
he picks you up, he takes you to Hammerhead, there's like nothing to do there. You can't leave, you can't grind. Half the NPCs that you've met this whole time aren't there. They're like, oh, is Sid still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. He's around doing, whatever. Well, where the fuck is he? How hard would it be to just have him be there as an NPC that you can chat with a little bit?
Yeah.
Or one quest that you do with Iris now that she's older. Or one more thing with Cindy and the Regalia. Like, why is it that you come out of the crystal, you walk a little bit, you get picked up, you can sell some items, buy some items, and then go into Insomnia, and that's it.
So that was a great opportunity for storyline. What has happened in the past 10 years?
Absolutely.
Chat with your buddies, the ones you've been chilling with the entire game. But you know who fucking catches you up to speed?
It's the kid.
Talcott.
That's it.
On a little car ride. They could have explored that and made it a couple chapters in itself. Just fucking what has happened in the past 10 years.
And then they made it where he's just standing next to a truck, and you can go through like 6 different options. Just that. Oh, what happened with this? Oh, what happened with this? What happened with this? Oh, I'm caught up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There could have been some deep, meaningful scenes exploring, like, oh, well, this person died.
Character
And
development.
yes.
There was
exactly.
almost no character development in 10 years
Yeah.
in the main story of a Final Fantasy game. How did they let that happen?
It's figured.
Because the end is way too linear.
The end is way too linear.
Yeah.
As
I mean,
Clark
that
said.
does sum it up. Like,
As soon as you get on that train, that's the end of the game. Like tunnel vision. You have no options once you get on the train.
Well, you can go back to the hotel and do or you can, when you go to rest, you can go to another chapter or whatever. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
But
you
it
can
doesn't
go
feel right.
back.
It wouldn't feel right to do that.
No, I feel like it breaks it if you use Fenrir to go back in time. It's dumb.
I mean, I think they were doing a really good job with the story, and then they got to that point, and it kind of dropped off a little bit.
That's true. Like up to Leviathan, and going to the other city, by taking your dad's boat with Sid and all that. Like I still liked all the story aspects, and I even liked the little chat that you have to do, the kingly chat that you have to do with the mayor or governor.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton.
That was good. That was actually really cool. I like
that
that.
was neat.
I mean, unfortunately, that's
It was
the only.
it was too easy though, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. It's like either act like a dick or act like a king. Like,
Yeah,
which are you
kinda.
going to do?
Something
You
that
thought
I
about
did
it.
like.
Sorry,
That's fine.
Steve.
You fucking asshole.
Fuck.
You can start.
Sorry, I
Ralph.
Ralphed you.
You Ralph. Fuck you. Fuck you. I Ralphed. Goddamn son of a bitch ass licking motherfucker.
Where with some of the characters, they started kind of showing them, I don't want to necessarily say growing up over time, but starting to take on different personalities as the game went on. Some of them anyway. I mean, when you get into, obviously, Ignis is almost the same through the entire time until he goes Stevie Wonder, and then...
Oh, man.
Which, I'll bring that up in gameplay too. But he still maintains kind of like the same attitude. I think Gladio becomes a little more of a dick, but he just gets sick and tired of Nox whiny bullshit, which I did. I know a lot of people really aren't a big fan of Gladius. I enjoyed the character for a good bit. And then after a certain point...
Gladiolus?
I think Prompto, he kind of stayed the same. He was the kid. He just reminded me of the kid. You know who he reminded me of? Final Fantasy VIII, Zell.
Yeah.
He kind of gave me that little bit of feeling where
I'm
it's like...
I'm a punk.
Oh
yeah,
my god.
I'm,
He is
I'm
Zell,
this.
isn't he?
This is me. It's like, I know you play a role in this, but you do get on my nerves. Hey, let me take a picture.
Welcome to Golden Key.
And of course, he's the guy with the pistols, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, that was something that I enjoyed out of like the story, at least like the development where it got into a little more of their personalities with it.
Can I chime in real quick?
I really want to talk about their personalities, but go ahead, Harry.
No, go ahead. No, I don't want to sidetrack.
We might
you.
say the same thing. I don't know.
No,
Shoot.
I'm doing a very sidetracked note here.
Okay, all right. The 4 characters.
Good
Gladio,
old hand-gestured Ralph over here.
Gladio, Prompto.
Is it a touchdown, Ralph?
It was a fucking touchdown.
It was good.
Good.
And oh god, what's the glasses? What the hell is his name?
Ignis.
Ignis. Jesus
Iggy.
Christ. Thank you, Iggy. So about halfway through the game, I'm like, all right. Well, no, it wasn't even halfway through. It was maybe the first 2 hours.
Now you're just trying. It's less
It's on
natural.
purpose.
Ralph is flailing his hands around,
It was the first 2 hours.
knocking into my TV and shit.
Bam, boom. In the first 2 hours, I was like, all right.
Beep, bop, boop.
We got Strong Jock, the intellectual, and the fucking idiot. Those are the characters they gave us. There's like, are they stereotypes? Like, that's sort of what I got initially. I was like, okay, he's kind of like the dopey, just wants to bang chicks airhead. And then there's Gladio, who's like, well, I'm rough and I'm tough and I'm big and I've got these giant tattoos. And I'm not a douchebag at all. I'm totally awesome. And then Ignis, who's just kind of like, I don't know why all of you are acting like a bunch of baboons like the whole time. Like I just like he's obviously the intellectual and
He's snobby. But
snobby.
damn,
No,
can
okay.
he cook a mean toad?
He is a little snobby. And I
Well, that's just because he's British.
I say.
why did I make him British just now?
Anybody see his teeth in the game?
See the driving Prince Noctis.
So what might be both stupid and brilliant about this game is that I think they are stereotypes, but by the end of the game, you don't care anymore. And that camaraderie that they were striving for so hard and pushing so hard from the very get-go
pushed it
like
so
pushing
hard.
pushing the car so hard with fucking Stand By Me playing.
No, I won't be afraid. Campfire. I wish I knew how to quit you.
There's
Sponsored by Coleman.
There's totally like subtle gay themes throughout the
okay,
whole
yeah, sure.
thing.
Sure.
Yeah, the leather in general.
Yeah,
They're all
there's a
rocking
lot of
leather.
leather. There's a lot of leather.
Gladio refuses to put a shirt on all the time.
Yeah, he's always wearing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that one has all of us in it. It's
Um,
a good one.
He was talking about Prompto.
Let me get a picture.
I like the lighting.
Love the lighting.
Dun, 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 dun.
I've just discovered a new recipe.
I do believe they call that jism, Prompto. It's a soup.
One twink and 3 studs makes.
Oh, my feathered hair, son of a bitch.
Yeah, why do they all have like perfect like product holded hair?
I don't know. I mean, the trailers early on, I was kind of like, oh my god, this is like the boy band cross country trip Final Fantasy, which I think everybody had thoughts and fears like that. And that's what I mean by like the stupidity and brilliance of this is that it's 4 fucking douchebags in this amazing car, but you grow to love them throughout. Like how do you maybe I'm wrong.
No. I completely agree. It's the camaraderie in this game that really makes the story. Because the story by itself, I think it's okay, but the interactions between these characters and how much they care for one another, that's the strong story aspect here. Was anybody weirded out by how bad Gladio wanted Noctis to bone his sister?
Yeah, it was kind of.
He's
He's trying to pawn it off on the king. For real. Like, he's trying to be part of the royal family.
Listen here, Iris, I really want to get into the royal bloodline, so you better fuck Noctis right.
You're going to put out.
He's just pimping out his sister.
Yeah.
But then you can't talk about the date or he'll kick Nox's ass. I don't know how
Yeah.
I don't know how your date went. Mine was magical. It was so beautiful. It was a beautiful day. We'll
was
get
a
into
great- it was a
gameplay.
great
I got a lot of AP.
Yeah. Oh, I got so much AP and
was just-
ASS.
Oh, shooting AP all over the place.
I don't know. There's so much voice act. That's just thrown me off. I don't know if that's music. Can you pick a region to have someone from? Because they had little bit of everything. You had just a regular American accent. Then you had a British guy going around with you. You go to a garage. Hey, y'all.
Yeah. They
You
really
want,
did.
you want some
Okay.
buttercorn?
You know what? You're right. Let's talk about Cindy for a second, okay?
Let's talk about Cindy and my game girls.
Is Cindy what Japanese perverts think American women are?
Yes.
Probably.
Because
They're not too far off, depending on where you go.
but
God bless
but
America.
come on, like I have to admit, she was kind of offensive, even to me. You know, like it's
All right,
kind of like,
Snowflake.
all right, hold on a second here. She's a fucking mechanic who wears a bikini under her jean shorts.
It's really hot
and
in the
gloves.
shoe shops, man.
Yeah, well,
She's in the
No.
desert, man.
Hold on,
Yeah, she's in the
Cindy.
desert.
They're being practical.
Jesus Christ! All right, Cindy.
Yeah,
could've
Ralph's
been-
over here playing the game. Enough of this Cindy chick with the boobs hanging out. Get back to the guys.
Yeah,
This
right.
is a car.
Yeah, you're right. She could have been an attractive NPC, and she could have been written to be sort of attractive. Instead, she just comes across as this bumbling airhead who's good with cars.
I actually completely disagree. I don't think she comes off as an airhead at all.
You don't.
I think
just
she comes off as like a Southern Belle type of chick.
Southern Belle. Okay.
And like honestly, the fact that there is no romantic thing involving her at all is like props to them.
Look, I think they could have put Cindy in a pair of overalls and like a t-shirt, and she still could have been hot. Like, to me, it's like, why did they make this character this way? Why did they put her in a fucking bikini and
Sex
all this
sells,
other...
dude.
Yeah, well, okay, but I mean,
That's why there were so many close-up shots of like when they were getting a certain angle. It's just ass.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but to me, like Luna Freya and even well, maybe not Shiva when she's in her when in her summon form, but
Giggity.
the human form of Shiva, like they're all tasteful. Like what? Like it doesn't. It's jarring to me. Cindy is jarring
because you have polar opposites in the entire game. It's just fitting into one thing or another, just showing here is the diversity of this world because there's a little bit of everything.
So
yeah, even look at hold on, sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Even look at the party. You have Gladio, who doesn't fucking put a shirt on,
True,
closed the entire time, who's like fucking ripped and covered in tattoos, and then you have Noctis, who's like some scrawny dude that's always wearing a fucking t-shirt and shorts and boots.
And
I mean, I'm not saying it's not possibly able to be offended by it. I'm just saying it's like one of those things like not every fucking girl in the entire game is like that.
That's true.
They did it on purpose. Like it was purposeful, but also she's in the middle of the desert or she works in a fucking as a mechanic. Like I kind of get it. They didn't have to make her bra bright red. Like stuff, little accents like that. Sure, they're trying to play into it, but also like there's not any like super obscene things that happen there.
I just felt like she was walking fan service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, to me, it takes something away from the game. I don't know why I'm saying, you guys. I obviously seem to be in the minority here. I just felt like
It makes it less of a work of
Why?
art, is what you're saying.
Well,
Like,
sure, yeah.
I agree.
the female body is a work of art, Harry. You just
Yeah.
have to look at it.
I'm in that camp too.
I actually thought that maybe Prompto and Cindy might have had in the world of Ruin, like
I was kind
maybe-
of yeah.
Yeah, like it's like
Yeah.
okay, he's constantly talking about her in the game. Well, he kind of talks about all the girls, but he's talking about her. Maybe something eventually happened, and here's little baby Prompto Jr. or whatever. But no,
It's a missed opportunity. Like, again, back to the World of Ruin thing. They dropped the fucking ball on that one.
agreed.
So one thing that they did strong in this game, in my opinion, you guys are feel free to disagree. All the characters that are a part of the main party, you get right from the get-go. Now, a lot of JRPGs, they
I
introduce...
agree with that. That is a fact.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying... a lot of JRPGs, they introduce characters here and there, so
Sure.
one at a time, they flesh out their story. One at a time, flesh out their story. Boom, you're hit with all 4 fucking characters right at the beginning of the game.
And that's no accident.
No. And I think that works for this game because you're trying to build this camaraderie. Like, you want to see all these guys right from the get-go. They're on the whole adventure together.
That basically pushes the thesis of the game about the camaraderie, like you said. That it's perfect to start that way and to keep
Fuck you, Clark.
to keep the
Stop saying camaraderie.
the camaraderie was
They were great.
camaraderie.
Why? What?
You guys have just said it so many times already.
But I'm sorry. I'm going to probably use it a lot more though. But it's like so prevalent in this game.
The friendships
You mean-
and relationships and
You
All
mean
right.
the camaraderie?
the camaraderie.
and butt plugs.
I'm sorry.
Camaraden me.
Can I quote you from a previous episode?
No, it's literally like that's where it's from now because you said camaraderie once.
I said camaraderie.
You said camaraderie once, and then we started talking about all like the gay overtones, and just that's what it is to me now. Like it's like the word association for the rest of the fucking podcast.
Guys, I think we need to bring our camaraderie up. Camaraderie.
Are you all right?
Twitching out.
He's getting excited. Watch out.
Where the
guys.
hell were we?
I don't want to bring my camaraderie up with you.
Camaraderie.
Jesus Christ.
Camaraderie.
No, Harry was.
Go to the sperm bank. Do a camaraderie.
So bad.
It's so bad.
No, I won't
Be afraid.
No, I won't
Boom, boom,
shed a
boom,
tear
boom, 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 boom,
just as long
boom, boom, boom,
as you stand.
boom, boom, boom,
Stand by me.
boom, boom, boom,
Darling,
darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, Ralph.
So the story.
I think a big story arc note is you find out that your father is dead.
Yeah, I mean, first
and that
you have
the
to get
capital
to
has fallen.
you get to Golden Key, and then you try to talk to the jeweler guy to get a ticket to go on the boat for your wedding with Luna Freya, and
Right.
you have to stay the night. After you talk, he's like, "Oh, it'll be ready tomorrow morning," and that's when, boom, basically
Shit goes down.
Basically, Kingsglaive happens, and
Yeah.
everything that
basically.
happens during that time with your dad and Insomnia being invaded and stabbed in the back by the Empire, basically. Arden takes you to Titan,
Yes.
which, of course, we meet Arden for the first time at Golden Key. I just remember that Arden leads you to Titan.
Yeah.
Basically, he leads you through most of the game. Like, he's setting a trail.
Yeah.
He knows the end game.
Of course.
And I think you start to, I don't know about you, but after like the second time, it's like, all right, why is this guy keep popping up? I don't really have a good feeling about him.
So you defeat Titan, you gain his power.
Which was pretty incredible. Just that, all right, that's the first big thing where, all right, you fought regular enemies up to this point. You are basically fighting an entity, a god. So then you defeat Titan. You have basically Titan's blessing. And, well, of course, the big thing leading up to it is that Noctis starts having, like, pretty
The
much
headaches.
the headaches. And it's Titan speaking to him.
It's
and
a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
tumor.
Not a Duma.
And it's crazy to...
daddy and what does he do?
They capture you. They steal the regalia.
That was a whole chapter in itself. Does that blow anybody's mind? Hey, we need our car back. Whole chapter of the game.
And all it is just jumping into the fort and stealing it back, really.
Essentially.
But you
Pulling a
get
John Wick.
chocobos.
After you get the regalia back, I think that's when you hit the road to go to the boat, basically. You go to the other side of the map, and you get in the boat, and you have a little bit of downtime. You can do a couple things here. And
But I
there.
think there was a couple tombs that you had to
Mm-hmm.
that you had kind of in between.
I think a lot of those are optional, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
Well, I think after they do that temple, if I'm not mistaken, this is when they venture to the other continent to unleash Leviathan.
Yes.
Yeah.
To Alticia.
Pleads with Hillary Clinton about
She
Acquiring-
she totally looks like Hillary Clinton.
everybody.
She
You
does.
you Google her online. Everybody talks about her as Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So he goes to acquire this power. He has this long epic fight with Leviathan. After the fight, Titan steps in, defeats Leviathan. Noctis basically collapses. Lunafreya is there to try to assist him, and then Arden stabs Lunafreya to basically turn events, because you're kind of unsure about Arden at this point in the game.
Right.
And
Who would trust him?
no, I know
I
he
did
had
it.
shady intentions, but I didn't know he was the villain of the game.
That kind of solidified it. We just saw him pop up, and he's like, "Oh, stabbed you in the face." Well,
Yeah,
stomach,
'cause-
but
Because even then, like, right before he does it, he helps her complete the ceremony.
True.
And then he's
Mhm.
like, oh, yeah, actually, real quick before I go stab.
Doesn't she like heal him or something during that same scene? Like she like touches his hand and it, like the yellow like
her glow, her aura.
her glow kind of like goes on his hand, and he's sort of like get off me kind of a thing.
So it fast forwards the timeline a little bit. They venture.
It's a couple weeks, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
after that, because Noctis is still in a funk.
This is when you start noticing the tones of the characters starting to change a little bit too, and I think they venture. Anyway, they venture to the other continent.
Hold on, real quick. Things to point out there. During the Leviathan fight, you separate from the party. Things happen to
Oh, shit.
the party
Oh yeah.
during that time.
Yeah, of course.
There's Gladio gets all cut up, like he has a bunch of scars. Prompto seems like he's just like more paranoid than ever, and Ignis loses his eyesight.
But before we go to this continent, there's that chapter where Gladio splits off, and he goes and he does his own thing, and you find out he's actually in Lestalem, and you go back there to process the mithril in the reactor by fighting a couple weak enemies.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
you're in like a cosmonaut spacesuit or radiation suit.
I just thought it was a really dumb part.
It
that
was dumb
worth
because
skipping
like
over.
we obviously knew that it was. Well, sorry, I wanted to bring light to it. You know that it's Gladio.
Light, because it's a power plant.
You know that it's Gladio, and Gladio pretty much knows that it's Noct, and you're just doing this little. It's like a 15-minute chapter, and it's like, why is this in the game? Like, who thought this needed to be there?
You sound like someone I know. Oh yeah, no shit.
You remind me of a princely figure I knew once.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my
it's super
God.
dumb.
You want to touch
It's
my
real
penis?
dumb.
I want to touch your penis.
Yeah, so like after the Leviathan fight, everyone's like pretty scarred, and then Noct is like just kind of ruined from the whole Lady Lunafreya dying in front of him and him being powerless to stop it.
I really felt like I understood that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody other than Gladio is like, look, you need to like fucking get over this shit. It's like he just lost like the person he pretty much figured he was not ordained to marry. It was
No, he was ordained.
Okay.
It was like a royal order.
right, and it just was as a bonus. They kind of like each other. So
His betrothed.
betrothed. Thank you.
Aw.
So
Yeah,
he just lost his dad, his city, and now like essentially the girl he was going to spend the rest of his life with. Like I can understand why he would be a little sad
Yeah, he's
for
in
a couple weeks.
Yeah, a little bit there. A little bit. And then Gladio's just kind of a dick. I mean, I get he's trying to do his responsibility because they explained in his story that's what he's there for. That's
the
his
shield,
job.
right?
That's what
Yeah.
his family has done. That's what his people have done for the royal family for centuries, millennia, however long it's been. And so he's the one that really tries to press it in. But at that point he seemed different. Like he seemed supportive like all the way up to there, but something that happened in Altisia with Leviathan changed him from that. I think his personality really took a turn.
I mean, I really kind of think he came together with his like immortality. He realized like, oh, like no matter what, there's like forces way beyond me that I could never even comprehend. And so I think that's why he's so hard on Noctis, is because he knows Noctis can actually control that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's actually where I stopped liking Gladio for pretty much the rest of the game. Even after the whole, so like, also there's like a big decision that you get to make during this time on the train. They arrive at like the halfway point on the train, and you can go into that mission and you can either take Ignis or not take Ignis.
Which did we address the full situation with him?
He's blind.
Yeah. Okay. I guess did you say Stevie wondered it? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So you're right, and it's at this point in the game where I started to realize that in terms of the character's story, I liked Ignis the best, because Prompto kept asking me about whose picture he wanted taken, and I was like, "This is annoying." Or hey, let's go take a picture over here, and I'm like, okay, you're like, okay, like that's all you have to contribute. And the picture mechanic is more gameplay. We'll get into it, but you know, at the end of every day, I was like, oh, I like this one, I don't like that one. I like this one, I'll save this one. This one's really funny, I'm going to keep it. Like, I liked that, but like him just talking about it didn't bring anything to the table. And even sort of the making the meals and the different ingredients, even though it was goofy, I liked Ignis best. And I used Gladio, I think, more in combat, but I sort of realized that he was my favorite character, and now he's blind. And I thought for a minute there that maybe he would recover, and he doesn't, and you get that important decision, which I assume all of us said yes to keeping him.
I took Ignis.
I took Ignis.
I took him, but I actually looked it up because I was curious about the alternate actions to it. He goes with you either way.
Are you kidding me?
So
The illusion of choice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like for that one, because there's a few of them where the decision you make does have a little bit of a different outcome. Because I looked it up for, just because we're around the same exact point, Leviathan, when you have to ask for her power or you demand her power.
yeah,
If you ask for it, you're just ask for it, nothing's really going to happen. If you demand it, you get extra AP, but she's even harder. This point forward is where things do start to get more linear, where it's a little. more,
the second you board the train, it's
that's
linear.
That's pretty much.
Can I say though, I really enjoyed the train chapter. There's something about it, just the travel, I guess, or the feel of the conversation, just exploring this new continent, more or less. Like something about it. I don't know. I really enjoyed that part of the game.
There's no particular reason that I can think of it other than, I guess, the less freedom, but I just feel differently. I don't really feel that being stuck on the train and exploring it for items, and then you have the sequence where you get attacked and you have to defend the train, and then you're on the roof, and Arden switches his image, sort of like a Loki kind of thing.
I did a fuck ton of side quests in like the chapters 2 through 4 or something like that. When it's still open world,
right?
I was ready for story at this point.
Okay.
I think this is when the point where they really kind of start jamming it down your throat, and you don't really have that freedom to explore. So you start indulging in this story a little bit more than
Okay.
in previous parts of the game.
So you're saying it was a refreshing change of pace versus
Yeah, I was ready to start committing to the story of the game at this point.
Right.
So I was ready for that, and I guess this is kind of almost one of the first areas where you kind of come off of the open worldness.
Yeah, see, to me, I still felt the itch to explore. So being forced on the train was a detriment to my experience.
Arden playing his mind games and tricks, because now you're really starting to see, okay, he's not just your regular baddie. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. Noctis pushes Prompto off the train without even realizing it. So now Noctis is even more fucked up in the head because that was his best friend, basically. And then that gets us into Chapter 13.
No.
Hold on.
That's
Wait.
There was a mild thing I think we need to touch on, though.
the Glacian, Shiva.
Yes.
Oh, Shiva, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that
Now-
whole thing. Like, I
Now,
don't
they
wanna
pronounced her,
reach
like,
right to-
dead. She was a dead summon
Right.
at this
Yeah.
point in the game. They never really clarified as why she's actually still alive.
You know what's creepy and like a game glitch that I'd love to show you guys? I have a picture that Prompto took where we're like on the road right after a fight, and she's in that picture. She's like standing in the background of that picture.
No, that's not a glitch. That's a thing.
What's the thing?
The escort to Lunafreya. Is Shiva.
She's in pictures throughout the game.
Yes. She
Okay.
shows up in pictures.
I thought it was kind of cool that I
That's
thought I had something.
creepy.
That's
unique.
neat.
It's
Fuck.
very creepy. She showed up in 3 of my pictures.
3 of them. Wow.
Yes.
Really?
It's randomized.
Check that shit out.
You're right. So she dies. She dies as
Well,
an
she's
astral.
claimed as dead. But they
the,
never really got into that. How did she die?
the Empire defeated her. I thought the Empire like just
Yeah, I think
killed
that's
her
what
and
they
then used her
alluded to
power.
her.
To go back on what we were saying earlier about Chapter 13, that's not Insomnia. That's the Empire City. When we go to rescue Prompto, that's Chapter 13, the one that's really long. Rescue Prompto.
Yeah, for the rescue.
Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense because we don't go to Insomnia until after the crystal, and this is all before the crystal.
So you go through the Glacian's
The Glacian.
spot where she's supposedly dead, and then you go and you see Wedge and Biggs, which I thought was awesome.
Oh yeah,
they're
that's
back
right.
again.
Yeah.
I'm glad they have these like little tropes in all the Final Fantasies that they
Right.
stay very consistent with.
Sid,
Chocobos.
Wedge and Biggs,
I
pretty
think
much.
Moogles were
They're-
in the game too.
Well, Iris has an attack that was a Moogle. That's the only Moogle I saw. She like throws a Moogle.
yeah, but still,
Like a
it was
teddy bear.
in the game though.
You're right.
Like,
You're
yeah,
right. You're
like-
right.
Oh, and Cactar. Cactar is like a thing
Oh,
since
yep.
7,
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, Marlborough too is a recurring thing, right? Well, and all the course, all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
all
yeah.
the Astrals and Espers
Mhm.
and stuff.
And then on your way back is when she reveals that this lady that you've been talking to in the background is Shiva.
Right.
She kills Arden in front of you.
She just goes.
Yep, she just taps him. He shatters into thousands of pieces.
Well, she freezes him, and then Noct attacks the frozen Arden and shatters it to pieces.
okay.
Which at that point I was wondering that's kind of anticlimactic. That can't
Roll
be.
credits.
It's
I was
like-
still thinking at that point that we were going to fight the Emperor. Then they end up going to the Imperial City. You find out Prompto has been captured. You fight through their like barracks of this ultra fortress, and then you find out that the Emperor has just gone full demon mode.
Yeah, like that is an issue I have with the game though, because 90% of the game, your enemy is the Empire and the Emperor, and then all of a sudden, Arden is your enemy. It's such a quick change of events that it just makes the Emperor and the Empire just irrelevant at such a point, because
Wasn't he like the Chancellor to the Emperor, to the Empire or something?
yeah,
Arden?
yeah, Arden was, yeah, but I mean
Okay, I gotcha.
he was basically like the puppeteer,
Right.
more or less, and
The
I don't think the
puppet
Emperor
master.
realized
Well,
that until it was too late.
That's kind of like a Kefka trope, because there's an Empire and an Emperor in Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VI,
I agree.
but they're not the real villain. Kefka's the real villain.
True.
So his game is pretty much, you find out at this point, his game is to take the throne and to rein in like the darkness and the zombie not zombies. What the fuck?
Demons
Demons
and revenge.
and revenge. Yes, on the family bloodline,
Yeah.
which is fucked because like Noctis didn't do anything to him,
Right?
and like
He's
he
in the way.
ruins Noctis's life.
Oh
But
yeah.
I think he also wants to die.
Which means he won.
Yes. They both win at the end of the game because Noctis wants to kill him end, Arden wants to die.
But Noctis doesn't want to die.
No, Noctis doesn't want to die, but
So he
Noctis
doesn't-
does want to kill Arden.
More than he wants to live.
So after
Okay.
you're absorbed into
Yeah.
the crystal,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he made
And-
that.
Okay.
He made that pact.
He made the pact.
Do
with
you want to
Bahamut.
give up your life to end Arden's? He basically, now they don't. I know they don't spell it out in words in the game, but he did make that agreement.
Well, yeah, they pretty much alluded to it. It was within the conversation with Bahamut. The light of the world can be accomplished, but it takes the life of the king to do it. Noctis knew this already, and that's why he was so apprehensive about putting the ring on. And not only just because of the Luna Freya, that was her job to get on the ring, but I think that because he realized what responsibility was his and what was going to be asked of him, even though he didn't want it. And then that's after he started putting on the ring, which I got pissed at because you have good powers. Fucking put it on a couple chapters ago. That would have been good. That's where he finally takes it that seriously and said, this is it. So after your conversation, so begins chapter 14, and now you're in
The World of Ruin. 10 years after Inside the Crystal. Comes out of the crystal. He's in a prison.
that's all the beard he could grow in 10 years.
Apparently.
Just saying.
It is kind of funny how everyone seems to have more facial hair after the 10 years. And then,
Yeah.
of course, it's not really explained how Noctis is where he is, or obviously he wasn't conscious for those 10 years. He was just sort of meditating, I guess, or in a meditative state. And we never really get the full story on how the other guys got out of the Imperial City, I guess.
Right.
Why was 10 years necessary though?
Have you played Ocarina of Time?
Oh, God, no. 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 I'm nipping that right in the fucking...
I'm just
Shitter.
saying, like, why was it necessary to fast forward 10 years? Like, why did the creators of this game feel the need to do that?
Maybe if they had built more onto it, like maybe if the World of Ruin was more elaborate, like the end of the game, you get a nice surprise. You get the whole open world as different, and you can do whatever you want and explore it. That would have sort of justified the 10 years. But for it to be a little blip before you head into the city, good question.
Yeah.
Why'd they even do it? Maybe if it had happened in the middle of the game, which it seems like an odd choice to put it at the end of the game.
Yeah, because there's no time to develop, like, oh, what happened in those 10 years? Hell, they don't even ask Gladio, like, what he was fucking doing when he, like, disappears. They're like,
No.
well, I have no fucking idea.
I'm glad you brought up Gladio because there was this throwaway line, and I don't know if you guys caught it or if I was just lucky, but it seems that Gladio developed a heart problem in between during the 10 years because we got into the city and Gladio like tripped or something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
someone's like, "Hey, big guy, like I need you to stay on your feet." He's like, "Oh, it's just my heart, I'm good, boop up, boop a doop." And it's like, wait a minute, what? Is there a thing or isn't there a thing?
I noticed that.
Is he like, okay, it's been 10 years, you're 30 plus, I guess now, and like, did you develop like a heart murmur or something, or like, is there something wrong? And then I was like, oh shit, he's not even gonna make it to the end of the game. Like, he's gonna have a fucking heart attack. but
He just sees a
didn't
freak.
happen. He just like clutches his chest and falls over. Like again, I
And then
sort of had
Ignis
this.
fucking trips over him.
God, wipes out the whole party.
Oh man,
My elementals. You have the Citadel in your sights, and you're just, you go through the subway, you have some battle along the way, and then you start coming in, a couple other big baddies, and then you're finally right in front. Arden appears again. It's not time for me yet. Here's Ifrit.
Yeah, it's like his one last trick up his sleeve is Ifrit.
And then all of a sudden it's just fire flames and he's just sitting back on the chair. It's like, oh shit. Thank God for Shiva. She came back and pretty much just gave Ifrit kiss of death.
The kiss of death.
Oh,
And
that was-
Bahamut. Bahamut shows up too.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
right,
with
yeah.
it throws down his, and have Ifrit like dodging, flipping around. Like all of a sudden he's ninjutsu. It's like, I know Kung Fu.
A true battle of the gods.
It was a really cool moment.
Oh,
honestly.
that was really neat. And then you get to choose your picture.
All right, I want to know what picture did you guys choose?
I went back and forth as to whether or not I was going to pick that one where it couldn't have been Ignis because he used the dagger. Someone shoved like a gigantic battle axe straight up Gladio's ass.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
that
no,
was
it was
Ignis.
Ignis. It was the spear.
Because he
It wa-
had
okay.
the pole arm, yeah.
I was like, do I want to do this one or do I want to do like?
You can see that one on our Facebook. Actually.
Yeah, check our Facebook.
Courtesy of Ralph.
Classic moment. I actually went with the very first picture.
The one with the four of them in front
The
of
four of
the
them in
regalia.
the regalia at Hammerhead.
I picked the same one.
I did too.
I did not. I picked the one right before you ship off on the boat.
The group of
Oh,
all.
yeah, the group of everybody.
of all of them.
You see the old group and the new group all mixed in one. It's just
Yeah.
like there's like 10 people in the shot.
I thought about that one actually.
I went with that one.
Well, I'll be honest. The first time I tried beating it, I picked that one, and then the second time I tried beating it, I picked the other one, and then the third time I tried beating it, I picked the other one.
You should save, dude.
Oh no, I did. The only problem is I saved when I had no potions or anything else left for the final battle.
Good times.
Yeah. Phoenix
Yeah.
Downs
Oh.
just had to keep waiting, but let's save that. We are now at
Press on.
the
Arden.
pinnacle.
It's the fight with Arden. You fight him in two forms. Once you defeat him, it's pretty much the end of the game.
Well, in
Yeah.
the throne room, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the body's hanging.
Yeah,
In the
it's
ceiling?
like Luna Freya and
Luna Freya. I saw the Emperor there.
yep,
I think I saw King Noctis, and then I also saw the main character
not King
from
Noctis.
King Noctis isn't me. You're right.
Lucius.
Noctis's father, and then also the protagonist from Kingslave. I'm pretty sure he was on the right hand side because and my
Oh.
game I took a manual picture of all of them up there.
You're
So-
sick. Yeah, which that was just an intense battle at the end.
Yes, it
It's
was.
like keep fighting back and forth, then go Super Saiyan for a little bit, and then it's at the end where you can tell it's literally the last of everything because you can't block, you can't dodge, you just have to keep button mashing until you get that prompt for that final battle.
Yeah, when you guys are just when they're just fucking zipping around the fucking.
I did like that part.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Similar to the Leviathan fight.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think it just brought an extra intensity because you're just going all over the city.
I also thought it was cool that they show that Arden does have the same powers as the king.
Yeah.
Where he brings up all of the different like relic weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And is fighting you, and it's like, oh shit, like I'm actually going up against a former king. Not former king, but you know what I mean, like a former bloodline.
Yeah.
It was clear that he could warp strike and had all the similar
Oh yeah.
attacks that you did.
Yep, I thought that was really cool. It was tough as shit, but
Oh hell yeah! Now you're pretty much at the point where Noctis is taking his spot on the throne, and all of basically his forefathers, the kings that came before him, pretty much strike him down on the throne. But then you're taken into this almost like astral plane.
This is the part where Noctis needs to die to get into that plane where Arden is at.
To kill
Yes.
Arden
yeah,
for good.
to finally
Yeah.
destroy him.
So I have to become a ghost to kill Arden's ghost, more or less.
Yeah,
And then it's again where Lady Luna Freya appears again and reaches out to him, and again that glow of the light of her healing appears. Because what I think now, coming back from initially from the Leviathan fight, she's there to bring the light, and then Noctis comes in and ends it.
I don't think
Yeah.
we've touched on the fact that, unless I'm mistaken, Noctis is on the throne. He's been attacked by all the previous kings except for the spirit of his father, who hesitates. And he essentially has to egg his father on to kill him.
It's like trusted me. It's like I can do this, and that was literally like the final blow, which I thought that was a really powerful moment too, where
Yeah.
he's just standing with his back towards Noctis as he's basically being killed, and you can see it on his face. It's like, this is what I knew this was going to what has become of my son, and now this is finally here, and he has to participate into it and bring this all together. It was I just found that as like a really, where I sat back and I'm like, oh damn, this is really good.
no, absolutely. That definitely struck a chord with me as someone who has a son. I was like, if I had to put myself in these shoes, could I do that? It's just the mentality that I have now. Like when I see anything involving kids or their parents and stuff like that, like it's a mentality that's
You just tell your son to put the ring on earlier, and at least he has good genes for a beard, not
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
scruffy stuff.
don't
he's
come out
scraggly.
looking like a pussy.
Nerf herder.
Then we get the cutscenes at the end of the game, which I want to discuss with you guys. So the first cutscene is The throne scene, the most important thing that I gathered from this scene is that you see Fenrir first. Then it pans up, and then it's Noctis and Lady Lunafreya on the throne, both alive, possibly, and they're like embracing each other. Then it pans out to show
The title logo.
the title logo, yeah.
And then
It adds Noctis
that
to the...
adds him onto it after it's all complete. I'm like, oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Now, to me, and I did a little research online afterward because I just wasn't sure what to think of it, but my initial impression was that they're both dead, and this is the afterlife.
That's mine too.
That's
Yeah,
what
okay.
I took
Because
it
they're
as.
distinctly wearing white in that scene as well.
Yeah, and they're both bathed in white light and stuff like that. Oh, also, it's very important to note that it also brings light back to the... Like, before they pan up to them, it brings light back to the world.
Yeah.
Him defeating Arden. So, the only thing that throws me for a loop about that whole thing is the fact that Fenrir's sitting there when that happens. And he's the thing that you use to travel back in time. It's just a weird thing that makes me think, like... Okay, is there some weird... And, like, Fenrir is a summon. Not all the summons in this game are actual summons, things like that. They also don't go really into full detail about what the last thing that Lady Lunafreya wrote in the journal. And you don't know... Like, Noctis just looks at it, doesn't talk to anybody about it, puts it back in Fenrir. I'm really wondering if there was something in that. Fenrir's backpack. Fuck you, Ralph.
Bend over.
No.
Fenrir.
I like what you're saying, Clark. I gotcha.
I just don't know if there's any sort of like weird time travel hitchiness where they're
It
alive.
actually happened.
Can I say, I think the best way to chalk this up, instead of super analyzing this scene, I think as far as the Final Fantasy franchise goes, they're notorious for ambiguity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think this is just one of those moments they kind of just want you to be unclear. And
yeah.
I think they just threw that in just to fuck with your head so that you can interpret it whatever way satisfies you.
Well, then you guys heard mine. I think they like somehow went back in time using Fenrir and are both alive.
To be completely honest, I don't think there is like a clear distinct
Yeah, no, I don't
think
think there is either.
It was all a dream, and they just woke up after the wedding day. The campfire.
All right.
Rounding out everything.
Go ahead. I will say, as cheesy and corny and whatever the fuck it is, that campfire scene, I think that was the most emotional scene I think that I witnessed in the entire game.
You felt something.
Yeah.
I did.
And everybody cried,
Yep.
including you.
No, I didn't cry.
Yeah, you did.
Did you
fucking-
cry?
You're a
I don't
weepy little
cry.
bit.
Actually, I was kind of like, just fucking say it, dude. Like, get it out. Like, come on. What the hell? Because he's like, just say it. I don't know
say
what
it,
it is you want to say, but say it. You guys, you're the best.
You're the best.
You're the best. All right. Never gonna bring you down.
That's how they should have ended the game. They started with Stand By Me. They should have ended with that.
So there's one thing I noticed about that scene as well.
All right, go.
Noctis isn't wearing the ring in that scene, which I thought was interesting. It's just like subtle, either like somebody fucked up at Square and didn't add that to the character model, but like literally as soon as he puts on that ring, he never takes it off. I think he has it on in the scene previous, like it looks like the wedding scene, because he's in the royal blue.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have it on at that campfire, and it really just bugs me. It sticks out as like when does this take place?
Well, on the way to Insomnia.
But he can't take the ring off.
Yeah, that's Clark's point. Is that
Once
that's
he
when
puts-
it's
Are you sure? Are you sure you can't take it off?
Yeah, he has to have it on. It's the symbol of the king. As soon as he puts it on, the only way the ring comes off is when they're essentially about to die.
But
I
where
thought
do they clarify that, though? Because I thought it was more...
Kingslave.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Once you take it off. Because I'm pretty sure, like, the way they portrayed it in Kingsglaive is once you put it on, you have basically like a timer or whatever your agreement was with the council when you go into that other world. That's the binding contract. at that point.
From what I understand, is as soon as you take the ring off, that's your timer, and it's very, very short. Because if you remember in Kingsglaive, Lucius takes the ring off and immediately hands it, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to fight this guy that I have no chance of beating, and fights that dude and just eats it.
I'm just saying, because what I saw from Kingsglaive is when he talked to the council, they were like, you have until dawn or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true for Kingsglaive.
Yeah, I don't.
But he wasn't a king.
No, he wasn't a king, but that was his contract.
I thought at some point he took the ring off and then put it back on. I could swear
he had it for a really long time and didn't put it on.
I know that, and then he did. He put it on eventually, and then I could have swore there was another part where he took it off and put it back on again.
Either way, I thought it was a really weird thing to have picked up from that last thing. It's a very emotional scene, but yeah, the ending just leaves me with questions. And I knew what I was getting into. It's a Final Fantasy game. I'm probably going to leave with questions, but like, I just feel like I have too many questions about the story as a whole to have like fully enjoyed it. That's like where I'm at with the story.
Let's mosey on into gameplay, guys.
Gameplay.
The active cross battle system. So where you could actually interchange even in the middle of attacking. You weren't taken to another plane or, just to like another area to do your battle. It's still all open world as you're going.
I liked it a lot.
It took me a little bit to get used to. I will say that. Plus, because I played a little bit, I began the game, took a long break because there was a lot of stuff in between. Because I'll be honest, it didn't catch me at the very beginning of the game. And then to go back in and learn it after the tutorials again, it took a little bit to catch up on. But once you found a good strategy to work it, dashing in with your single-handed sword and then quick switching over to the great sword for a little more striking power, then switching back again, starting to get in like a little bit more, I don't want to call it like advanced battle, but really utilizing the system they put in place to really take as many benefits out of it.
Yeah, and then there's also like the back attacks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like where
the
you
blind
hold
side.
Blind sides. But no, I'm talking about actually like if you hold back, you attack differently than if you're holding left or right or up or down.
I think at the best of times, like using the techniques and doing the, what is it called when you hit somebody from the back?
Blind side.
The blind side. Like using some of those like attributes of the battle, like I think it was awesome. But at the worst of times, it felt like a hack and slash. And it didn't feel like there was a lot of strategic components to the battle system. So I was back and forth on my feelings towards it. Like, is there certain times I really enjoyed it and certain times I just felt it was monotonous?
I think that's fair to say. I really liked actually the install timer. And then you just had like the Citadel's platforming. You had like 10 or 15 minutes to just learn the combat. You guys did that, right? Or is that just me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just like basically seeing how many hits you could chain together, sort of for fun. Like I enjoyed that whole bit. Getting into the actual game, I played like the first 20 hours without using wait mode, and then I decided to give wait mode a shot and turned it on so that anytime you stop moving knocked, a timer starts and you can decide who you want to attack and you can do other things. And wait mode, I found that there were some pluses and some minuses to it. If it was a one-on-one fight using, dodge and attacking and counterattacking, I felt, really worked. If it was, oh, Empire above, oh, Empire's here, oh, Empire's here, oh, look, an Empire ship, oh, look, a ship, another one. Like, I got so tired of just being like, I just want to walk across this field without the Empire dropping a million dudes on me. Okay.
It's raining men!
Literally. And then it's like,
You
okay.
just pull up blaring that on the loudspeakers.
Now there's like 20 dudes that I have to fight, and it's just this big mess. It's just this big nasty mess of different body parts. Like I don't know what to dodge and when not to, or when to parry. Like, yeah, you get the prompt to parry, but like there were times where it just, for me, it didn't work. And there were also times where I was like, look, just give me the plane. 4 guys fighting however many, enemies, and just make it turn-based, because having it be more of an action game, I didn't always enjoy. And we'll get into it later, but when it came towards the end game, I didn't feel there was any real place to grind.
Well, there wasn't.
Well, there's that. And just, I started to get tired of the combat. Like, the fight with Arden, I was kind of like, I don't want to say I was bored, but, like, at that point, I was just waiting for him to, basically get to a point where, okay, I start. Like, that fight is threefold, if I remember. Like, there's the part where you're just on the open field and you guys can do whatever. You can warp strike and you can fight each other as sort of as equals. And then after a certain point, you go God mode and you guys are flying around, like the fight with Leviathan. And then eventually you get to the point where you're just hitting circle like 10 times in a row or something to kill Arden.
Yeah, pretty much. You would go in for a strike, they do their little thing, and then it would prompt you again to hit circle. That's pretty much all the end game was. But, I mean, that's also after you just fought like hell to get to that point in that final battle.
I mean, the fight with Titan, I actually didn't like all that much. The quick time events. I mean, I also thought it was weird that it's like, why did I just take his arm off? Don't I want to recruit him? Like, I was thinking that like,
you just gimped him.
Yeah. You have to like literally defeat him in order to bring him along, and that was sort of like the first sign that I was like, I don't know if I really like this whole thing. And then the fight with Leviathan, I couldn't get fucking anywhere with him for like 20 minutes. It really started to tick me off that I kept warp striking to all the different points and it's so funny. She's like, I don't want my citizens to be harmed.
Oh, but that city was
was fucking destroyed. It's like, I'm willing to accept a moderate amount of damage.
But they did evacuate. Like, that was the big thing. That was
sure.
Evacuate, and then
I don't know. At one point in the battle with Leviathan, I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do, and then finally, I must have done the right thing, and I started to do the whole God mode thing again, where you're just flying around, flinging all the swords at it, and it's bursting like cluster missiles or whatever on. And then it started to become fun, but up until that point, I was like, what the fuck is going on? What am I supposed to do?
Slicing off appendages.
Like, I couldn't warp strike to Leviathan, and I couldn't attack him to do any real damage, doing like 20 or 30 or something. And I was just like, I feel like I was missing something, and I don't even remember. In this moment, I don't remember what clicked until it finally started to take off, but the battles with the summons, against the summons, it didn't really... The Leviathan fight is kind of like a standout. Like, I thought the scale of that thing was really cool, and I wish that more of them were like that. I mean, yeah, the Titan, the scale of Titan is pretty big, but you really feel it with Leviathan. And overall, the fact that this is essentially more of an action game, I was worried that I wouldn't like it, and I had periods where I did and didn't, similar to what you were saying. Sometimes I felt it really worked, and sometimes it didn't.
Now, I wanted to ask you guys, because the summons were basically randomized, or you had to be in a certain position to actually even be able to summon them. Who did you summon in the game? Like, who did you actually get the opportunity to summon? Like, well, we already know, God, what's his name? Raiden Thunder God.
Ramu.
We know he shows up anyway, because that's just a trigger point. Shiva, she automatically shows up with the Ifrit fight.
They all show up at least once, purposely triggered.
I don't remember triggering Titan.
No.
Leviathan.
Yes, but
during
I don't
you're right.
think,
I'm sorry.
I don't think that was his normal animation, though. I don't think I ever saw Titan in a regular battle.
Oh, I used Titan I think like right after you acquire him.
Cool.
I found that I was
didn't, though.
utilizing Ramu like 90% of the time.
I only used him twice, I think. I used him once in the dungeon to get the Mithril. It was against like the dumbest like small little enemy, and it was like summon, and I was like, oh, okay, this is surprising. Boop, and then he does this whole thing, and I'm just like, one little dude is dead.
So I ended up diving into this like deep level dungeon later in the game, where at first you fight one red giant, and then 2 red giants, and then 3 red giants, and then they throw other things at you at the same time. And it was just like an endless fight. I think I was stuck in the room for like 50 minutes to an hour.
Jesus.
And the one time I just had to flee away. And it was just Ramu after Ramu after Ramu because he knew I was fucked. And he even when he was doing his damage, he wasn't wiping the board. Like, that's how powerful these guys
So he
were.
only is possible to summon when you're clearly outclassed in the game?
Yeah, it's basically if you're stuck in a battle for X amount of time,
then he triggers.
then they trigger to come and help you and bail you out, more or less.
But I've had I found Leviathan. She would come when you
have to be near a water source too for her, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, kinda, because I summoned her. Actually, how I had to play through. Well, I brought up that was pretty much the only times I really got to pull the summons was the battle with Arden at the end, where it took me, I think, 6 or 7 tries to really get through it. But by that point, I had no potions. I had a couple Phoenix down and 1 high
elixir
potion.
Elixir to fully restore the HP and MP like all the way up. That's pretty much all I had, and it was a pain in the ass because I was so under level. It was almost damn near impossible. So on 2 different playthroughs, one I had where Titan showed up, smashed him with the fucking rock, and then I went into God mode right afterwards. And then another battle, I was in danger and kind of limping around because I already used the high elixir, so I have to wait for him to die to pull out a Phoenix down, and I was able to trigger Leviathan, which she popped up a couple times for me actually. Her and I were buddies. That was my bitch.
Yeah, I had Leviathan pop up for me a few times.
I don't think I used any summons in the fight with Arden. I could be wrong. Do you guys remember what level you were when you beat it?
40.
40.
I think I was
40.
I was 43.
I think I was 39 to 40, somewhere around there.
Oh, wow. I was upper 60s, low 70s.
Oh God.
I was tanking this game. Like,
Yeah.
I was doing every fucking little thing I could find.
Did you have any trouble with Arden then?
No.
So it doesn't scale?
No.
I'm wondering.
It was easy.
Well, I would imagine if he has 27 levels higher than we do, that makes it a little...
It took me a good 15 minutes, I'd say, to activate us jumping around
Oh, okay.
in the boss fight.
That sounds about right for me.
But I also had to make sure that I had like 20 plus healing items.
Right, so I didn't know what I was in for the ending. So when you're at Hammerhead, I did a manual save and then went over and I took all my trinkets and all that other shit that I had and I just sold it all. And I got like 20,000 gil. I'm sorry, 70,000 gil. And I bought the best weapons and I bought 20 potions, 20 high potions, elixirs. I bought everything I might need. Went in, had to use them as a bit of a crutch, but got through it. And I actually had more difficulty with the initial monsters in Insomnia than I did with Ifrit or Arden. I don't know if you guys know what I
There was
mean.
a couple creatures in there that were fucking beast.
I did Ifrit in one shot, but that first monster you encounter in Insomnia is a level 78.
Yeah, that was tough.
Oh, I ran past it.
I ran past it initially, and then I
You can
ran
run
into a
past it.
group of 46s,
Oh God.
and I was like, oh, well,
the globby guys?
yeah, I was like, oh, God, these are going to fuck me up. And then I just saw the summon button, and I was like, yup. And it killed the fucking 76, too.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
That was a nice little bonus.
Yes, it was very...
So I had to run past. Even at my level, I had to run past.
Oh, so I wasted my time whooping them.
I summoned Ramu and Leviathan on that thing and still didn't kill it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it might be a crutch, then.
I was getting fucked.
I just saw, like, Leviathan rush it with water, and then I just saw numbers popping up, like,
Nice.
all over the fucking city. I was like, yes.
It's like, thank God.
And then I was like, oh, 6,000 experience. Sweet.
I'll take that.
Great. I won't be able to actually, like, camp and use this, though.
Side note, I did think it was kind of lame that you could, like, rest in Insomnia, like, in a little,
Yeah.
like, broom closet.
Really?
They're a little, like, you
There
can
is one.
stay overnight there. But I was like, well, then why even make the last campsite significant if it's not going to be the last time that they, like, meet as a group or you know, share a room or whatever.
To
Well, I
set
think
up
they
that
wanted
very
to give
end
you
video.
I think they wanted to give you one extra option to go back in time too. Is
Is that where I do it? Because after I defeated,
I'm pretty sure the bedrooms are the places that you can tinker back into time.
because I was surprised that after I beat it and I reloaded that save, that it didn't like give me a prompt to where I wanted to go. I thought that that's what it would be like.
Well, I don't think it gives you a prompt where you want to go. I think you literally have to go into that. What is it, the dog or something like that? Like you literally have to go into that. Okay, gameplay aspect. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The driving. I wanted to talk about the driving because I felt that it was sort of like a half step. Like I really liked that you could.
I wanted full control over.
I wanted
it.
full control. I
Yeah.
wanted full control of the car when you're driving it. Now
Yes.
having Ignis drive it, and you have the option to just sort of view the world. And I don't know if you guys did, but I put points into those long car rides to get AP points.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna set the waypoint, and he's gonna do his thing. I'll collect AP. I'll go downstairs and get a sandwich. Come back.
I did the same shit all the time. Get a sandwich, earn AP. This is going to be a 12-minute ride. Fucking, I'll go watch a quick episode of something.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked the regalia. I liked the regalia. I liked that you could upgrade her. I did the supercharger upgrade, and I think I did like the wax for fuel economy or something. I wanted to get to the point where you can get it so that it flies, but because I've seen that in a trailer, but I didn't get to do it yet.
I didn't touch it at all. That thing was so banged and beat up by the time it was blown up. I never took care of the car. I basically just ran it into the ground.
I didn't get a single upgrade
Really?
throughout the entire game.
Like-
Some of the upgrades really help you out, like gas mileage.
Yep.
So you don't have to fill up your tank as much. The one quest I was working on recently was to get high beams. So
That's the last one I haven't done.
it's the basically I think it ignores the demons of the night, more or less, or something along those lines.
Oh.
Shit, like they help you and like they affect shit in the game. It's not just like
Can
a
you actually
cosmetic.
fly in the game?
Yes.
I haven't done it. I haven't gotten there.
Do you have that unlocked?
I haven't done it yet. No, but I heard talks. It's basically
Does that mean
like,
that you
'cause they
fly
want
over
it-
the road, or you can just go wherever?
Yeah, you just go wherever. It's kind of like old school where you get the airship.
Gotcha.
They wanted to include that because a lot of people missed the airship.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this was a last ditch effort before they released the game. They threw it
Okay.
kind of like haphazardly together.
We
It's
need
not
a
like
Ragnarok.
It's not a perfect system or anything, but people like demanded this, and they listened to the demands of the people and
Fair
put this
enough.
in.
I just want to say that I think the Leviathan fight is probably my favorite
Yeah.
gameplay part of the game.
I can see that. I can definitely see that, and I did enjoy it once it started to work for me. But up until a certain point, I was just like, "What the hell is going on with this?"
You have to do minor damage to it
Yeah.
before you unlock it. Like, you have to piss it off enough that you do that whole thing where you climb up to the eye,
Right.
demand the power, and then
Right.
you're like, you go
That's what it
fucking
is.
God mode.
I have the
Um,
power.
But man, I played that and just was really kind of blown away. I don't care that it was like God mode and you can't really die. You can die if you stay in the water. When you fall and you get hit, you fall into the water. If you stay in the water, it will kill you. You don't heal. You stop healing when you go into the water.
I liked the chocobo a bit. I didn't do any of the races, but I did use the chocobo even when I had the regalia as an option at some points.
I love the chocobos.
I actually made my chocobo white, named Chicky,
Aw.
which I thought was.
I didn't get into any of the real extras of this game. I'll be completely honest. I tried to like stick to the main story.
Yeah.
That's also why I struggled at the end. But I mean, I it's one of those games that I know like I'm gonna sit down and I want to play through it because I really enjoyed the hunts. I think it was my favorite like side mission stuff was like doing the hunts.
I do also like the hunts. You're right. I didn't do a lot of nighttime fights or night battles when the demons come out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys spend a lot of time doing that, but
At times,
I
they can
didn't.
be endless.
yeah.
Like, as soon as you kill one, something else pops up or something like that.
Yep.
You can get stuck in this loop, man, where you're just getting whittled away. But no, in regards to that, though, I will say I only got game over once, and that was a couple days ago.
I got a couple game overs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a few.
I thought, generally speaking, this game is easy. Like, I didn't feel the pressure, to be honest. you could just let me just pop a potion or something like that.
Yeah.
And you that's it. That's all you had to worry about. Just keeping stocked up on items.
Also, it's very easy to over-level yourself in this game, too. Just because there is so much.
Ooh, and I did take advantage of maximizing how much experience I would have and then going to one of the expensive hotels to like maximize the return on
Double
that
it
experience
or-
as well. Yeah, because I did I think there's one place that triples it. At one
Yeah.
point. I mean, it's expensive.
I think that's
But
the 10,000 a night one.
Yeah, but I banked up for like
That's
4
golden
days in
key.
a row. And then you just bank into that and there's like 8 or 9 levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
see, I never did
9
anything
levels,
like that.
you dirty duck.
I know I might be exaggerating
You
on that, but there
exploiter,
was
you.
sometimes I remember it just ticking up and ticking up and ticking up, and I was like, "Fucking score!"
Harry's like the old lady at the penny slots. I'm gonna get it.
I think I'm just about done with the gameplay things I wanted to mention, but there
I
is
am
something
done with gameplay.
I have to say.
Yeah.
This is 12:40.
I have to say, it's that, and I'm sure you guys can agree, or maybe it's just me, but how many times did you try to talk to someone, or collect an item, or interact with something?
It was delayed.
No, you just jump in the air.
Yeah.
You start jumping around like you're on a fucking pogo
Yeah.
stick because
Oh.
Pick up.
either the hit detection or just the poor choice of pushing X, which is also jump. Like just make interact square, and we wouldn't have this problem. Of course, then
Mount.
you would probably phase all over the place. But I would constantly just be jumping, and it's like, no, I want to talk to the person who I'm right in front of, and it said talk a second ago, and I push an X, and I'm dancing. Pissed me the fuck off.
That did get pretty annoying.
Felt
pretty quick.
unoptimized.
All right, I had two little bullet points I really wanted to touch on. First of all, I did not care for the magic system in this game.
Oh, drawing magic? You didn't like it?
it? I think I kind of said something a couple weeks ago about this as well, that I just really wasn't digging the system. I don't like the whole, it's almost like alchemy, like let's mix a little bit of this and a little bit of that and just see what kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not into it. I miss the old, you obtain or buy or whatever a spell and you can just utilize that.
Yep.
I don't like pulling from the environment components and
I
tinkering
rarely
around with it.
used elemental magic.
Yeah, I used
didn't
it a
use
couple
it
times.
either.
I wanted to see what it looked like, and it was cool, and I liked the reactions on the players where you hit them with the ice. But they were all area effect spells, so
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so hard to avoid
True.
hitting your team. So what to be honest, what I usually do is Ignis's ability of regroup, where it brings everybody's health back up to max, but it would also bring the whole team towards you. So I would use his technique and then immediately fire off a spell right after that. I think that was the best way to do it. But that's almost kind of like breaking game mechanics in a little bit. Like it's not.
It's tactics.
Yeah, not necessarily. No, Final
almost-
Fantasy Tactics is a different game. I
Well,
used
on it, or-
some of it. I did feel like I was left kind of for the old school style. I thought it was neat that I could put stuff together where if you put an equal share of all three of them, it's, hey, here's a curiosity spell. You never know what's going to happen with it. And then they only really implemented some other spells just through the ring later on, like where you would
Ooh,
have
the
death
Death.
or
looked
holy.
Good.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was really cool where you just send everything to a freaking void.
Thank you. I did actually want to talk about the ring, because once you obtain it, I wanted to use it almost exclusively. Those low-level enemies, you just start popping them off.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
Like, no problem. And then, of course, when you dodge close, you can do a very powerful...
Holy.
What is it? Holy?
Holy.
It was like a 5,000 hit point
Oh, yeah.
attack.
It was gross.
Yeah, so I tried to use the ring as much as I could. Some of the larger enemies, it just didn't pay to
I
do.
used the death ring on one of the big dudes with a sword.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they dwindle away until they're just like a thin stick.
Oh,
and then
nice.
It's such a good feeling when it's like, I really don't want to fight this fucking thing.
Yeah, but on those big guys, it would take like 5 minutes to drain them. Last thing I just want to mention real quick, New Game Plus. I wanted this for so many fucking Final Fantasies. I'm glad they finally put it in a game.
You gonna tackle it?
Yeah, I am going to tackle it. Because, I mean, now I have a reason to play through the story again, but still try to achieve that platinum status on the game.
Oh, you wanted to platinum.
I want to platinum the fuck out of this game. This is a very easy Final Fantasy to platinum, though. I don't know if you look through all the achievements.
No.
It's not a difficult one to do.
Oh,
You just got to get everybody's rank up to 10 for their special ability.
Okay.
All the chapters are a thing. I don't know. I there's only a handful I don't have at this point.
Okay.
I didn't go fishing. I did not take any manual pictures. I would set up camp. Ignis would cook because we got extra abilities out of it. And Gladio just started picking up stuff here and there. But I didn't actually do the fishing. I wanted to, and then something else popped up quest-wise, and I just didn't even do it. And with the pictures, I think you were saying there was some gameplay element that popped up with the pictures later on.
Yeah, there'd be like a side quest where prompt would be like, "Oh, there's this great spot. We should totally go."
Well, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that would pop up every once in a while.
Gladios and Ignis, I think they help the party.
Yeah,
Sure.
Ignis,
Yeah.
boom, boost your stats. Gladio, grab some new items after the battle. Noctis was very personal, and I think it was more of a mini game than a boost to the party.
Oh yeah.
Why does he fish?
I
Who
don't
thought
know.
that
Hey,
was
the
needed?
world's getting destroyed. Let's go sit by the pond.
Do they have some
Noct.
bass?
I don't. Yeah, it just seemed really random.
And the photography thing, couldn't they have given him something else to add to the group instead of...
Yeah.
I take pictures.
I mean, I kind of
Shut
liked
up,
at the end of the
Prompto.
day. You can select from 10 pictures that
Yes,
are there.
but I was looking
But
for more of
everything
an
else-
attribute to help in
Well, sure.
battle, more or less.
Well,
or like...
Photography and marksmanship share the same principles.
Oh, shut
my
the
God.
fuck up.
All right, guys, well, let's start talking about graphics.
Graphics.
Graphics in this game are fucking gorgeous.
They are beautiful.
Having said that, some of the NPCs look like shit.
Wow.
Was that a South Park reference?
shit? Oh, my balls.
I mean, maybe it's just because of the comparison between, the main four characters and the number of pixels they have and their animations and everything, or just the skyline, just being in the regalia and letting it do its thing, letting it generate the world. Beautiful. Having said that, I am kind of disappointed that you have these amazing things in the distance, like a fractured mountain, and you can't go there, or the story doesn't take you there. It's just kind of because when I first started the game, I was like, oh, that looks amazing. I wonder
Yeah.
what that is. I can't wait to figure it out. You don't get anywhere near it. Isn't there like an island in the distance where there are like two sides are like coming together? It's like this one side I thought it kind of looked like a cat, and the other side looked just like rock. And I was like, oh, I can't wait until we get there. I can look at it up close. That never happened.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
But at least with the Fractured Mountain, I thought the same thing. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I want to go see it.
When you're talking about the Fractured Mountain, are you not talking about the place where you go to get a cup of noodle for the egg, or the mountain that you climb with lava? Did you guys do that?
I didn't do that
Oh,
one.
I
no.
didn't do that.
Maybe that is it then.
Maybe it's
Oh,
a side quest.
Is it the
No,
one
I
where
just
it's
okay.
like-
It wasn't a side. Like I just wanted to explore, and I climbed up this mountain, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, mission pop up, explore this mountain.
Oh.
Cool.
It was a 20-minute hike up to the top of the mountain, and it overlooks almost the entire land.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so then that's on me.
Time to revisit.
I highly advise you guys, if you guys aren't planning on playing this game a lot more, at least climb to the top of that mountain. It's a blast. Just because, I mean, there's lava coming
Because
down.
it's a volcano.
Yeah, it is a volcano.
Oh,
Shit. Shit, I got played. It's beautiful. And it's a cool little quest because you guys are literally hiking. There are times where you're hiking down a trail, but there are other times where you have to climb up a steep cliff. It feels like an actual fucking hike to the top of this mountain. I don't know. I just check it out.
okay, will do.
I think the graphics in this game are amazing and like a can't miss.
I did have a little bit of clipping every once in a while.
Yeah, there's some glitches and stuff like that, but the imagery in it is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the character design. I kind of wish they had more outfits than just like, do you want to be wearing black or black with a coat or like look like a fucking Pokemon trainer for Noctis, with or without jacket. But other than that, I thought the graphics were really good.
I choose you. Prompted you.
I'm I'm glad that they covered the different climate bases. Like you start in the desert and then you can venture into the woods. Eventually go to like a snowy land, you get swamp lands. And you definitely do explore some more than others. Like I think
for sure.
the majority of the game is in the desert or the forest.
Right.
I am glad you got to you got to witness those beautiful graphics in each different climate.
And if you went a while without taking a bath, you just kept looking dirtier. You did get pretty dirty.
I never really went more than a day without leveling up or camping. You guys do, Harry, did you do it for like 3 or 4 days?
Yes,
and
I did.
And
That's
then
how I
camp?
maxed that experience, Cat.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not so much. It would be like maybe like a day or so, but not like hardcore Bouse over here.
I liked the art style. The summons were massive.
They felt epic.
And they really were.
That's a word that's overused too much, but that really, I can't find a better word to describe it when they would just come onto the scene and just wreck fucking house. It was epic, and it was amazing.
The only opportunity I wish they would have capitalized more on that is more summons in the game.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to see.
I would have loved, I am a big fan of Alexander, the giant robot that uses holy.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought he was a cool summon. I would have loved to see him in this game. So the last thing I wanted to say as far as graphics, but the way the death spell looked with the ring, just like it was literally draining the health out of these creatures, life force. I just thought it looked so awesome. The way it was just thinning them out. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Thinner. It kind of reminded me of that.
Seen images, but I've never seen the whole movie.
Got it.
Someone gets thinner.
Really? I thought it was about paint thinner. Mineral spirits.
Although I will say something I really did like about the graphics is on one of the big trailers when they were really making the big push, the scene coming up to Altezia, the water city basically, where you go for the Leviathan. And when you're initially coming in, they do the giant panorama basically of the entire cityscape. And I remember seeing that in the trailer, and it looked just as good, if not better, at least for what it was worth. And it's just gorgeous.
I had that
Absolutely
shot
gorgeous.
as a desktop background, actually.
Yes.
For a while, yeah, at work.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's beautiful, but I think it's kind of hokey that it's just pretty much Venice
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
It is.
It's essentially the gondolas, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, they were even dressed the same as like a typical.
Yeah,
you want to take a
boat ride?
here we go.
Sorry.
Bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Final Fantasy. That was a pasta. One thing I just want to say, I don't think I really, really like the design of like Gladio and maybe even Prompto. I don't know how I would change them or fix them, but just like, I don't know. I think Gladio's a little too over the top with his design.
What do you mean?
Well, let's jump into music, guys.
Music.
So the one thing I did like, and I know they were going for that nostalgia feel, being able to obtain all the old soundtracks from previous Final Fantasy. Now, I do have one gripe with that. I feel like the soundtracks were incomplete.
Definitely.
They absolutely were.
It drove me a little. I was looking for a very specific song on the Final Fantasy IX soundtrack, and it wasn't there. And it was 2 discs. You bought 2 discs, and I was still missing that song.
That's pretty crazy.
There was a specific song that I was looking for when you fight Jecht in Final Fantasy X that they did not have. It's like that metal theme
Yeah.
that they did. It wasn't in there. I was pissed.
I was so happy they had Dancing Mad. I'm wearing my Earthbound Papa's shirt. Nobuo Uematsu's band. I actually think that having those retro soundtracks, to an extent, diminishes the actual music in the game. I don't think I ever listened to Afrojacks in the car. I mean, I did. I always had something retro. I actually used a lot of music from 7 and from 8. Like, I've never beaten 8, but I like the themes for Man with a Machine Gun or Force Your Way and all that stuff. Yeah, like I like those. And even
all right, I'm done.
even a little bit of just the garden theme. Peaceful.
That's a bad one, Ralph.
Seriously?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, there were moments where I was like, this is really kind of cool that I can, go here and even then you get like the MP3 player through the game where you can change the music. So I could literally listen to Final Fantasy VII the whole time in the game. Okay, so the actual music that was composed for the game, the main game, was composed by Yoko Shimomura. I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name right. I'm sorry.
I think you have that right. Which,
Okay.
fun fact, second time we're reviewing her music because she
Indeed.
also did Parasite Eve.
She did, and she also did the music for Super Mario RPG, which is classic in itself. That's a good soundtrack, in my opinion. She's done a lot of the stuff for Kingdom Hearts, which is no surprise considering Nomura's involvement. But
Street Fighter as well. Go figure. That's some big leaps and bounds from doing Street Fighter.
yeah,
And
pretty diverse. I have to admit, I think the music in this game is beautiful, just as good as the graphics in that regard. Especially the title theme and the menu theme. There were so many instances where I wanted to go into the menu just to hear it start up like a revised version of the classic Final Fantasy theme.
Mm-hmm.
But even installing the game and that first time you boot it up and the title theme starts, there are 30-minute versions of that on YouTube that I've listened to multiple times, and I think I sent you guys a text saying that was my cigarette break.
Oh, hand gesture Ralph. Really bringing it together
We
for
gotta start
this
recording
audio
these
media.
sessions.
Makes sense because he is Italian.
Oh, motherfucker. Motherfucker, why would you say this?
Bippity-boppity music.
Look, this is a soundtrack that I'm going to probably buy and listen to. Like, I think it's really good. Now, there's the theme for the title that there's like the vocalization, like the operatic version with like lyrics. I don't really care for that. I like the instrumental version much more than when they started to add lyrics to it. I think that plays in the game once you get into Insomnia, unless I'm wrong. Those themes, the battle theme's pretty good, but for me, the music it's not Uematsu, but it's still very good.
I don't have anything against the music. Nothing jumps out specifically except for one track. Exploring the World tracks. There was one where you're in like immediate danger. This song would kick in.
Yep.
But there was also one when you're not around enemies. It was more of a you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's used throughout
that
the game.
one was so fucking catchy.
Oh yeah.
It was a really good one.
I really enjoyed.
Yes, that one, Ralph. Go ahead, Harry.
No, I really enjoyed that track, and I found myself trying to get away from enemies just so I can hear that tune while I'm
Gotcha.
exploring the world.
Gotcha.
Other than that, I don't think there was anything negative with the music.
No.
Again, I don't think anything's going to specifically stand out to me because I wasn't listening to those tracks when I was driving in the car. It was always classic music, but
Uematsu.
yeah.
Which, shout out to Nobuo Uematsu, we miss you.
Oh.
He's semi-retired or completely retired as far as I know. Like, he has a band. I saw him at MagFest one year.
Isn't he part of the Black Mages?
Yes, that's his band, yeah. But he sort of like, I wanted to say that I think since 10...
Because there was a falling out.
Yes. Since 10, Nobuo Uematsu only did like the title theme or was only minorly involved. I think the last full game that he scored was 9. But I think the guy doesn't get enough recognition. I think he's up there with some of the greatest composers that we've got. It just so happens that his medium was video games and not an orchestra. But his works transfer over to orchestra very easily. All right, so let's talk about Stand By Me then. I was fucking laughing when I started this game. And that song starts going, and I'm like, really? I'm like, really? This is how they're going to start it? And I think it's funny, obviously. Like, it's genuinely funny that the car is out of... No, I won't. Shut up to...
Just as long.
That the car's out of gas. And I was kind of like, what are they, fucking idiots? Like, have they never driven before? Like, of course the car's out of gas. Like, you can't drive it forever. And I was like, is this... So this is where they're starting. They're starting at rock bottom. Like, I really like that setting where them pushing the car's out of gas. They get it to Hammerhead and go from there. But, like, just the song...
It was an interesting choice, but I liked it.
Yeah, I actually was like, when I saw that scene and the music started playing, I was all in. And no, at that point, like something clicked in my head where I was like, this is awesome. It's so fitting for what they're about to do, and especially with like some of the last words that were even mentioned with the whole Ifrit scene that you see at the beginning.
Okay.
Where like Noct falls down and he's like by himself about to get crushed by Ifrit, and like literally all three of them come to his rescue, are like standing in front of him, and then it's like, okay, the beginning of the venture, stand by me, moved, goosebumps. Look at my arm right now, goosebumps. Like legit thought it was an awesome scene.
So I think what throws you off, though, is because when you think Final Fantasy, you think their own score of music. By pulling an outside piece that's mainstream media into the game,
Yeah.
it's a little bit, it throws you off.
I have to say that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Because no other Final Fantasy I can ever think of had an actual real world.
This is
You know
totally
what I
music.
mean.
Final Fantasy VI started
But
with
yeah.
Thriller by Michael Jackson. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh shit! I missed that intro.
Let's move into final thoughts, gents.
Final thoughts.
Who wants to kick it off?
I was kind of sad that I took so long to get into a Final Fantasy again, but after hearing what I've heard from everything between like 12, 13, and 14, I'm glad this was the one, because this really did have the Final Fantasy feel to it. Obviously, there's new factors because they were still trying to get into kind of a newer fan base, because they already knew they were going to have the diehards, but they didn't nerf it so much where it took me out of the Final Fantasy experience, and it had all of kind of like the classic key points, and I am really glad that they stuck to them.
Ralph, what do you got?
This being the second Final Fantasy game that I've fully completed, I have to say that there are a lot of themes in this game that really got me thinking. For instance, the camaraderie got me thinking. Because, no, I'm not kidding. I'm serious. It made me think of points in my life when I had a crew of 4 friends and we were as tight as brothers. Why are you laughing at that?
Because you just like cherry picked wrong words. You can cut out what I'm saying. But
Yeah, I got
you
you.
said a group of 4 friends, and we had the tight bond. Or whatever.
Okay, all right, sure.
Camaraderie.
I mean, during and right after high school, I had a group of 4 friends that we were all really close, and we've lost that. We've gone our separate ways. So it made me think about that. It made me think about my father who passed away. It made me think about all these things and added emotional weight to the story. Having said that, the gameplay was for me sort of hit and miss, but throughout, I enjoyed the experience, loved the music, loved the visuals. I want to put more time into this game, and I know I say that all the time. I'm probably going to go back and play it again or play more. I say it all the time, but for this one, I really want to knuckle down and find a way to fit this game into my schedule, to do more, to do New Game Plus. I really like the development for video games and what can go wrong and what can go right and the history behind them. And while the story in this game is good, I think the story of Versus 13 and its 10-year development would make an interesting documentary and be almost as interesting as the game we got. I could be crazy, but I really feel that there's more to say there, and there's information that we haven't uncovered. And I somehow managed to not tell you guys that apparently Tetsuya Nomura, after seeing Les Miserables one day, he went back to the Square Enix office and said, "We could turn the game into a musical."
Oh my god!
It'll be amazing. We'll do this and we'll do this. Maybe that's where Stand By Me came from. But he wanted to turn the game into a musical, and that's probably where they pushed him over the edge and they fired him. I don't know. But I really feel that, and to a degree, to the detriment of 15 versus 13, some of those trailers you watch and you go, man, that's not the game we got. Where is that game? Will we ever see anything like that game in Final Fantasy, being very, very dark? But to summarize overall, I enjoyed it. I intend to keep enjoying it, and I'm pleased with what Square Enix delivered.
Clark? Final
thoughts.
thoughts.
Pass.
Pass. No, I really enjoyed playing the game. I had a lot of fun with the gameplay. I felt like it flowed very well. The story was really good. I didn't like being shoehorned into the ending. I kind of wish there was like another opportunity to like go back instead of like what felt like the halfway point of the game. Essentially, you get shut down. I would have appreciated maybe like another big arena to go into. It seems like there's really only the beginning 3 areas to explore, and that's about it. And it's low level, mid level, and high level content, all in those 3, mixed throughout. I thought it was a very well put together game for something that had been in development for almost 10 years. I really did appreciate what they were able to accomplish with the time that they put into it. I thought it was definitely a game that if you're into RPGs, you have to play through it once. I think it's up there on easily maybe like a top 20 RPG for me. I think just visuals and experiences alone, I think it's up there.
Harry, how did it touch you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Point on the doll where the game touched you.
No, not on Ralph.
Not with your mouth, Harry.
Point on the doll.
So, okay, one thing that I was wishing for in a Final Fantasy for a while was that there would be a darker tone. Because there was a darker tone in some of the older Final Fantasies, but they got away from that for many, many years. And to see that they got back to that, I was very excited to see. Just a more adult feel. Because, like I said, there's a lot of Final Fantasy and Square Enix games in general that throw this very kiddie undertone that just takes away from your immersion in the game. And just to make this more realistic and actually feel how serious this relationship is between these guys, I don't know. I thought it was amazing. They did, I think they missed some steps in certain aspects of the game, which kind of takes away from it, but I think overall it was a very solid game. I guess let's move on in the score, guys.
The score.
Who wants to fire it up?
All right, so I never go first, so I'm going to go first here. I'm going to give this one semi-heartwarming story versus 13.
Oh my god.
I feel like you just came across this midway through.
Yeah, which is brilliant.
Which
is brilliant.
I totally did, because I was going to say for or against, and I was like versus, so one heartwarming story versus 13.
I really thought I was going to give this a pretty solid score tonight.
But it turned out more of a
No, okay, it's still a good
100%.
score, but it's not as high as I thought I was going to give it.
So let's hear it.
I think I'm going to give it
Go.
an 8.5, which is on par with Silent Hill. I was very close to giving it a 9 tonight. But then I was like, The Last of Us, it's such a good game.
Oh my god.
This is a way better game than the last one. Like, way better.
All right, Steve, what you got? What's your score?
This, for me, I would have to give an A-.
A-.
Still in the A category, but still a few things that I feel I'm missing out of the game to give it a straight A.
Do you have an A+ on your system?
Yeah,
All right.
I haven't found it yet. So it's out
I'm looking
there.
for my 10, Steve.
It's
I'm
my.
looking for my
I'm
10.
looking for my unicorn. It's out there somewhere with minty fresh breath.
We just haven't reviewed my perfect 10 game.
So I'm going back and forth here between two scores, so I think I'm going to split the difference and give it an 87.5%.
Whoa, decimal.
Was that between 87 and 88%?
Were those the two
90.
scores?
I don't know if 87 or 88. 87.
No, I was thinking 85 and 90, actually.
Oh.
Yeah,
Harry-
it's 2.5.
Yeah, that's good.
Harry, where do you rate this in the series?
Oh, yeah, I actually did. I did mean to mention that. As a game, I think it's a solid game. As a Final Fantasy, I think it's mid-tier. I think there are so many I can just list off 9, 6, 7, just right off the bat.
I can list numbers too. 12, 13, 14.
Harry counts.
I'm just saying, I would even rank Final Fantasy 5 above 15.
Really?
Yeah. I know a lot of people wouldn't do that, but 5 is good. But no. Honestly, like, I think the Final Fantasy franchise, top tier franchise in general. I think all those games could be all crushed between an 8 to a 10.
JRPG top brand.
I think Final Fantasy has definitely fallen out of the upper echelon of video games.
No, I
now,
agree.
Mhm.
I think the last couple are definitely on the bottom of their,
So you don't-
their series.
You
but-
would put this above 13.
Yes, I would put this above 13. I don't hate on 13 as much as most people do, though. We have no iTunes reviews this week, unfortunately. Please, guys, get on that. We
iTunes.
are begging you.
Hook it
iTunes,
up.
iTunes.
Yes, just leave us a review. You could be
Callous, crass,
Yeah.
rude.
As vulgar as iTunes reviews will allow you to be.
yes, please.
Because then we can read them, and I will send you a picture of my nipple. It's glorious.
Which one?
There
Your
you
third
go.
nipple?
Not you, son of a bitch.
That's just out in the world now, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph. Now that's
It
known.
was like a secret talent for him.
Superfluous papilla.
So, let's announce our next game. But before we get into that, I do want to say we have had the best turnout yet with this game. This is the best turnout we've had for a listener choice game. It was a very close race between 3 out of 4 of the submissions.
Fuck all y'all that don't like Far Cry 3. I'm sorry. Like
That's a fun game. I like it.
Yeah, it's a great game.
But our winner was Assassin's Creed 2.
Dos. Ezio.
Eckies.
Dos Ezios.
So stay tuned. So stay tuned until next episode when we review Assassin's Creed 2. And I know nothing. Oh, okay, barely anything going into this game.
You know, a little bit.
A little butt.
Oh, a little bit.
A little butt.
Hey, you guys are the best.
Aw, Steve.
Boom, 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 boom,
Ben.
boom.
Wait, hold on, real quick. If that makes Steve Noctis, Harry, you're gonna have to be Ignis. You're definitely Prompto, and then I'm Gladius.
I'm Prompto?
Yeah, you would totally be Prompto.
I'm not.
Fuck all of you.
You did just say you did say during the podcast that photography and marksmanship have the same properties. That's a very Prompto thing to say.
Fuck off.
We'll call it a night.
No, don't turn it off. Don't do it.
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.